local and indigenous artistic expressions in material form to be made available to our visitors, because people don't come to Jamaica to buy made in Japan and made in Singapore. They come for made in Jamaica goods. And that's what is at the heart of the Artisan Village concept. The East Kingston Promenade, which we did, and of course the St. Thomas Destination Development Plan, which our Prime Minister instigated and guided us in developing, and everybody sees how St. Thomas is now growing. And the biggest of all is the urban center, which our Prime Minister opened only a few weeks ago. So, Madam Speaker, the issue of Airbnb and short-term rentals. In 2016, we did an MOU, which led to formal sector inclusion and with the hosting at the time of a small amount, and people wondered what was going on. But I just want to make the point that this sharing economy concept, which has taken over in the world today and has been a huge part of the tourism accommodation subsector, democratizing that and bringing small players into the mix with people with a simple home in some deep rural part of Jamaica that now is accommodating tourists and visitors. When the idea began, it was rebuffed by the big boys. And I was then chairman of the Executive Council of the UNWTO affiliates. And I had to make the point to them that this represents innovation. And what we are supposed to do is to support innovation, because more and more is going to come. And so said, so done. You found the Ubers of the world came up afterwards, and the whole business of what we have with different types of permutations now of how services are provided in tourism by various groups. And so Airbnb came, they had a MOU with us, and the first year, Jamaican hosts earned 32 billion Jamaican dollars in 2024. And in fact, entertained 840,000 guests. Madam Speaker, what that says is that the issue of inclusiveness in tourism is not just a discussion, it's not just a wish, but it is indeed a fact, because the benefit of tourism is permeating even into the deepest recesses of the Jamaican communities. Madam Speaker, Jamaica has been recognized by the world for various awards, and we have been given so many awards that it makes, in fact, the rest of the Caribbean feel like, you know, it's only Jamaica exists. But it is true that Jamaica has copped so many awards that, you know, at points in time when we go to these events, people say, okay, it's Jamaica again. This is a Jamaican event. But that is true because of how our workers, and because of the quality of the service that we provide, and the experience that people have when they come to Jamaica, and the excellence that is in there in terms of our leadership, among other things. And so, Madam Speaker, we are proud to speak of those quality awards that Jamaica, and in a very humble way, I say, the Jamaican minister too, has had over the years in this area. Madam Speaker, another critical area of success for us has been the retention rate in tourism. When I became minister first in 2007, the retention rate was then 20 cents in the dollar. When I came back as minister in the second iteration, it had gone up to 25 cents. And since the Andrew Holness administration has taken over the tourism activities, we have moved the retention rate from 25 cents in the dollar to 40.8 cents in the dollar. And there are some who say 40 cents is little. And perhaps it's true because we have to do more. And you will hear how we are going to do more in the next chapter of the presentation. But to say that Jamaica's position at 40.8 cents in the dollar is twice that of the Caribbean average. Twice that of the Caribbean average. And we are only behind one country in the region, and that's Damrep, who is at 50. And of course, just behind India, which has the largest in the world of 60 cents to the dollar. So that's where we are going. And you will hear more about how we are going to get there later on.
Madam Speaker, I ask that the Minister be allowed an additional 45 minutes to complete his presentation. The Minister's presentation is quite fulsome, quite comprehensive, and so I crave your indulgence, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Members, the question is that the question.
Go ahead. Half an hour.
House, the question is that the House Leader be allowed half an hour to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Wonderful presentation. Continue, House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is true that when successes are being enumerated, and I did give the Minister of Health an additional time because he had the success story.
House Leader, you can't use your time so unwisely.
Madam Speaker, the 23rd major success, Madam Speaker, is the establishment of the Tourism Entertainment Academy. And I will enjoin with that also the Tourism Gastronomy Academy, which is to be established. And Madam Speaker, what those two have done together is to create for the first time appropriate training for the tourism industry for entertainment, and indeed to enable workers of the industry who are excellent cooks and wonderful chefs to have a chance now to be executive sous chef and to attain the highest levels of remuneration in the industry. And only 2 weeks ago, the first cohort of executive sous chefs started their training program from 6 hotels, 25 of them. And we will be able, in time, Madam Speaker, to say ta-ta to these international chefs because we have our own well-qualified and well-positioned chefs. Madam Speaker, this is very important because one of the reasons that people quarrel about low value added in tourism and low salary is because we have not trained and certified and qualified all of our key workers so that they can ascend the highest levels in the industry. And what this government under Andrew Holness has done is to see the need for a transformation in the labor market arrangement in tourism. And it can only be achieved by certifying and enabling qualification. In other words, to create what we call a stackable credentials in the industry, so that we can have a situation where we can classify the worker on the basis of their qualifications, and then we can remunerate according to classification. And this is something that is not new but never practiced. And it can't be practiced because we were not training and certifying them. Before our time, what we had was only Team Jamaica, which was an entry-level training for anybody who wants to be in tourism, so you teach them a little history and civics. What we have done, what this Andrew Holness government has done, is to recognize that the future of the tourism worker is about stackable credentials. It's about putting them in a place where they can compete, that they will have portability, which is so important, that once you're qualified. And you know, Madam Speaker, one of the things that we did in this area, which was unique and is borrowed by the UN tourism, is that we went into the hotels and found competent workers who were not certified. And with the American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute and the American Culinary Federation, we gave them qualifications and certifications so that today they can go anywhere in the world and show off their certificate as ACF, qualified ACF and AHLEI. Wonderful position. No other time in our history has a tourism worker been put in a position where he can then move up mobility and move out portability. Madam Speaker, the environmental and heritage products are critical to the development within our space. And we have gone and found places for restoration. We've worked with Rick's Cafe to create the Red Stripe experience. We've done the Milk River Spa revitalization. And we have created the Adopt an Era program and the Jam Iconic Experience expansion. All of these critical areas are first in the tourism space. And finally, in the 25, Madam Speaker, spruce up Jamaica. Spruce up Jamaica. This community-based tourism uplift. We have executed community beautification and heritage product in every constituency, creating jobs, empowering artisans, and enhancing the appeal of rural tourism. Madam Speaker, all 63 constituencies have benefited from this program, and over 300 communities. Over 300 communities have been directly impacted, and between 2016 and 2024, we have delivered 408 projects to the tune of 1.57 billion Jamaican dollars. Madam Speaker, these 25 major successes demonstrate that we are transforming, innovating, and delivering. Madam Speaker, the fact is that Jamaica has performed excellently in the face of the global tourism landscape, and the fact that we have had what has been described as perhaps the most disruptive period in our recent history. No one thought that we could have navigated through COVID the way we did. And the immediate aftermath of COVID has not been linear. It has not been straightforward. Indeed, the recovery has been more disruptive than COVID itself, as we have seen in terms of the supply chain disruptions. We have seen in terms of problems with the airlift, when airlines could not replenish their stock because the manufacturers did not have the planes to supply. When the maintenance programs also were at risk because the maintenance companies were not able to provide the parts and so on required. And all of that impacted on the level of airlift that would come into your country and impacted also on your arrivals. But through it all, Jamaica persevered and we worked. We had issues also, Prime Minister, with travel advisories. But through it all, we worked. And the good news is that with the effort of our Prime Minister, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Industry, and the team from the Ministry of Security, combined, oh yes, he did some work, combined with a task force that we established in the ministry, members of the task force are actually in the gallery, work assiduously day and night, and we are proud that the U.S. has finally relented and have now provided Jamaica with a level 2 accreditation in the travel advisory. And we're excited about the prospects of what that means for the expansion and growth of the industry over the period. We've moved, Madam Speaker, into market diversification to great success. We have analyzed the performance by the source markets. We looked at the challenges and the extraordinary opportunities also that were there, and we created a strategic approach to market diversification. Our primary source market, the United States, registered 4.1% decline compared to 23, largely due to economic uncertainty and election year dynamics, and of course the advisories of which I spoke, plus the aviation disruptions of which I spoke. However, this was offset by robust growth from other regions. And that is to tell you how resilient we are, that we have moved and we have gone into South America. We've gone into Europe and in Eastern Europe and in Central Europe. And we have done extra work in Canada so that today, despite the disruptions of which I speak, and the fact that we had a soft winter, we are now back into growth ways. And in the last 3 months, Prime Minister, this first quarter of the fiscal year will see growth from tourism, and our GDP growth is going to be in a better place. Madam Speaker, I'm particularly pleased to highlight the success of our market diversification strategy in emerging regions. Latin America produced 13.2% more stopover arrivals for 2024 calendar year versus 23, while the Caribbean region generated an impressive 25.1% more stopover compared to the previous year. Madam Speaker, the challenges of 24 were complex and would have overwhelmed destinations lacking in strength, fundamental and strategic leadership. Jamaica faced the lingering impacts of a widely publicized U.S. travel advisory, severe weather events including Hurricane Beryl and Tropical Storm Rafael, and persistent rainfall. And added to this were the U.S. election year travel slowdowns, high interest rates, inflation, aircraft supply chain issues, cyber disruptions, and ongoing geopolitical instability. Yet, despite these headwinds, Jamaica has retained its leading position as a regional tourism and remains a top choice among the global travelers and industry professionals. Speaking of global challenges, we welcome the U.S. government decision to lift the advisory on travel to Jamaica from level 3 to 2 and extend heartfelt thanks to our Prime Minister again, whose strong leadership and skilled negotiations were instrumental in making this a reality with the support of our National Security Ministry, our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And I want to especially single out the ambassador, Jamaica's ambassador to Washington, Senator now the Honorable Audrey Banks. Madam Speaker, we want to particularly celebrate the excellent work of the Jamaica Tourist Board, now celebrating its 70th anniversary as the destination's marketing organization, and indeed the #1 destination marketing organization for the Caribbean. And the fact that they have been there for 70 years, and Madam Speaker, they have become, and this is arguably, the most efficient tourism bureau in the world, the Jamaica Tourist Board. And we say that without fear of any contradiction. This tourist board takes a budget of less than 20 million US and turn over 4.3 billion US dollars in the year. And Madam Speaker, the industry has grown as a result of the excellence of the Jamaica Tourist Board. And I want to use the opportunity to commend the past chairman, the past directors, and the past ministers too of tourism who have helped to channel and manage this facility and this board over the years to enable the success that we have. And as we move forward, I want to make a special point of pride to indicate how the Tourist Board has managed to navigate its way through so many situations. And to today, Prime Minister, through your help and through the support of the team around Jamaica's iconic personality, one who has captured the world's imagination in terms of the field of athletics. And for the first time, Jamaica has Usain Bolt, the Honorable Usain Bolt, as our tourism ambassador. Madam Speaker, we have recognized the importance of building a future around innovation. We have recognized the importance of building both sides of the tourism economic divide. We've talked a lot about the demand that tourism brings to the economy. We've talked a lot about how to link the demand to the supplies. But we haven't done enough about that. And I'm proud to say that over the period, we established the tourism linkage network, which really was an improvement on the tourism linkage hub that was there prior to my ascendancy as minister. And what we have done with the tourism linkages network is to connect every sector. We speak of linking tourism with every Jamaica's success. We're not engaging in political rhetoric here. We are referring to concrete actions, measurable results, and transformational initiatives that create opportunities for farmers, manufacturers, artists and hairdressers, taxi drivers, tour operators, chefs, content creators, and many other workers across Jamaica. Our newly appointed Minister of State, when he was given his task, was tasked, in fact, by our Prime Minister to play a leading role in engaging the various sectors and individuals so that we could build navigable pathways and strategically align to achieve mutual success and outcomes. This yeoman effort on his part in the few months that he's there had enabled the evolution of working across governments and private sector groups. It has been able to bring these people together. And in a short time, Madam Speaker, we are seeing how the tourism linkage network is beginning to integrate itself fully into the supply chain of the industry. Through 5 specialized networks and 2 technical working groups, the tourism linkage network promotes experiential tourism while reducing import dependency, expanding local opportunities, and enhancing the authenticity that workers seek. These focus areas, Madam Speaker, of agriculture, manufacturing, gastronomy, health and wellness, knowledge, shopping, and sports and entertainment are aligned to ensure tourism spending stays within the economy, benefiting Jamaican producers and communities. Tourism touches every sector of the economy with more powerful multiplier effects. 15% of construction is connected with tourism. 10% of finance is connected with tourism. 20% of manufacturing. 21% of utilities, agriculture, and fisheries. In other words, Madam Speaker, tourism is really a confluence of all the moving parts within an economy that must come together seamlessly to create the product that we market. And we are proud to say that in every point along that value chain is wealth. And almost every element that is involved there can indeed testify that they have grown, expanded, and done better. The transformation that we have seen in agriculture through the tourism demand is evident. And the Minister of Agriculture, in his speech, made a very telling story with regards to those linkages. We created the Agricultural Linkages Exchange, known throughout the industry as ALEX, and we continue to demonstrate remarkable success in connecting our farmers directly with hotels and food services providers across the chain. And we indicated already that we are looking now that Alex will facilitate in this year 3 million kilograms of produce, valued at $450 million. In just the first 4 months of this year, we have already earned $100 million for the farming communities of Jamaica. It is indeed important to highlight, Madam Speaker, that these figures form part of the overall agriculture produce sales in the tourism industry. A really small portion, because when we have done this study, it indicates that the value for just fresh fruits and vegetables is more than 363 billion Jamaican dollars. And so what the small farmers are doing is mere drop in the bucket, so to speak. And we now require the larger players to become involved. Our Prime Minister has been championing the cause for special arrangements to be made and long-term contracts to be crafted between hotels and our agricultural producers. And I'm proud to tell you that that is very much on the way. And already we have had commitment from our large hoteliers to be able to do this, providing, of course, we build the capacity to enable a certitude of flows at the time when required. And I'm sure that that will happen, because once these long-term contracts are crafted and put in place, then the banks will respond. And when the banks will respond, then the farmers will be active out there, and there will be that certitude of flow that is required. Madam Speaker, the matter of manufacturing renaissance through tourism markets is another big area. We have been talking with some of our large partners, particularly the cruise lines. And the cruise lines are ready and willing to take Jamaican manufactured goods. We have had a series of seminars bringing manufacturers together. Some 220 of them have come and had meetings with us already, looking at the whole area of creating, in fact, in time, a supplies logistics center. And we're excited about that prospect, because what that will do, Madam Speaker, is to ensure that, again, the supply side, which is where the wealth is. And a lot of people sit and think that tourism wealth is in large hotels and so on. The wealth of tourism is in the supply side. That's where, thank you very much, to understand that it is the consumption pattern of the visitor that has to be met. And once that is met, then the wealth stays in the destination. And we have been pushing that over time, and we believe that we're finally getting there. And Madam Speaker, we are looking at so many other areas to drive the consumption needs of the visitor and to secure a consumption pattern that enables the wealth to stay in destination Jamaica. Health and wellness is another big area to capitalize on. The wellness tourism is among the fastest growing global segments, and Jamaica is well positioned to lead, thanks for our natural assets, our traditional healing practices, and our premium spa experience. Madam Speaker, we have the flora and the fauna, we have the biodiversity that enables nutraceuticals to flow in the areas all up in the hills of St. Andrew and all in the cockpit country. We have the species of plants that are enabling the possibilities for nutraceuticals. And we must now capitalize on that and to build out our capacity on the supply side. Madam Speaker, fostering innovation and creative excellence is at the heart of changing the way our destination is viewed and attracting more and more visitors to our destination. Earlier, I spoke about the success of the Innovation Incubator, and that what that is really doing is helping us to cultivate tomorrow's leaders today and to enable not just the building out of new experiences, but to be able to utilize the cognitive systems that are now going to be the feature of the new experiences of tourism. Our young people have to learn to manipulate the cognitive system. AI is going to play a critical role in the future of tourism. And we are going to have to train and retrain. And so the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation the incubator, and the other machinery that we have established and institutions that we are crafting are going to be critical to create the infrastructure that will enable the new tourism worker to emerge. And let us not kid ourselves about it. 70% of the workers of tourism are at risk in the future as a result of AI. 70%, because 70% of tourism workers' activities are casual and are low skilled. And this is the area that AI is going to play a huge role in. So I remember in 2010, and I just want to make this point to show Jamaica's insertion in innovation. In 2010, I met with a group called Ian Reality that is now working with Sandals. And at the time, the whole business of digitization was new. And the development of that whole new area of robotics and so on in tourism. And I went to a place named Nagara in Japan, where we were looking at the future of automation and the future of technology in tourism. And we learned from then that more than 30% of the global workforce would be replaced by automation. And then we started, and that's where the whole business of virtualization and digitization became a big part of the tourism arrangement. And Aeon Realty was on the virtualization side. And I took my then advisor with me to Manchester University to look at the first of the type, where we were training 1 million people simultaneously from the DC. And we saw that as a need, and that's how we established the Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation. And that is why during COVID, we could train virtually 20,000 workers. And we could also marry 400 couples virtually, and then invite them to come to Jamaica for honeymoon after COVID is over. So, Madam Speaker, this is a whole new ball game that Jamaica has to respond to. And out of the activities of the incubator, I spoke earlier about Dr. Dwayne Chambers, who was the winner of our first TEF 2023 incubator. And his startup program, he created what is called the Caribbean Front Desk, which fuses cultural and medical wellness into a modern digital platform. His work strengthens Jamaica's position in the global wellness tourism market and exemplifies how the incubator is turning bold ideas into transformational business. That is what we're about. And I want to tell you that this is the start of the whole human capital development revolution that we are pursuing in tourism. Madam Speaker, as we work to ensure every Jamaican benefit from tourism, human capital development remains central to our strategy. No destination can thrive without skilled, passionate professionals delivering outstanding visitor experiences. The Jamaica Center for Tourism Innovation under the TEF continues to lead the workforce development. Between April 2024 and March 2025, 2,746 of the 3,100 candidates earned certificates, a strong 89% pass, reflecting that the quality of the program is there, but more critically, the workers' commitment. Certifications were awarded through leading institutions, and we are proud to say that we have partnered with some of the strongest and most renowned educational institutions within the tourism sector to enable the certification and qualification of our workers. And I'm proud that the future is going to be seriously strengthened and secured by this program of training and development, which is so critical to us. Madam Speaker, those who talk about how to change the worker position in the industry needs to take note of what are truly the things that will make for sustainable development of our workers. Our workers, yes, must be better rewarded. Yes, must be provided with better social conditions. But our workers also must strengthen the capacity for higher levels of productivity so that they can deliver even more, and not just around the 24 hours that they work within a space, but they can provide value added for their own self-development and development. And I'm excited about that prospect of what this government is offering in that space. Madam Speaker, I know that we do have a very strong and detailed presentation, and I do recognize the time constraints that we are working with. But I think it is very important, Madam Speaker, for us to recognize, I know, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, that we have to develop now the industry through policies and programs and new strategic approaches. And so we are reviewing a number of legislative arrangements in the industry to enable the capacity for the growth and development of which we speak. The Jamaica Tourist Board, in its 70th anniversary, Mr. Speaker, is now reviewing its 70-year-old act. And I'm very pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that next week we will bring to this House the repeal of the Tourist Board Act, and indeed present a virtually new act that will guide the industry into the future. The challenges are great, and we have increased the types of involvement, the range of involvement, and indeed, Madam Speaker, we have to respond to the innovation of our time. So many changes have taken place over the last 70 years. So many new experiences have emerged. So many new systems have emerged. So many new practices too, and so many new business models. And we need to step up now and to provide the legislative and regulatory arrangements to be able to facilitate these developments, to expand these developments, and to provide scope for further innovation and development. So, Madam Speaker, in this context, the Ministry continues to work diligently to prioritize its legislative agenda for the year 25-26. And we are looking at strengthening our regulatory framework to modernize our operation and to ensure that our tourism sector continues to thrive in an ever-changing global environment that demands adaptivity and innovation. Madam Speaker, linking tourism to every Jamaican's success, and I'm closing now, Mr. Speaker. Linking the strategic framework development is critical. So linking tourism industry to every Jamaican's success, the Ministry continues to implement a strong policy agenda to focus on sustainability, inclusion, and resilience. Madam Speaker, we want to be able to examine in a closer way what are the true impact that tourism has on the economy. And we've been talking a lot about the impact, but we really have not done the level of empirical work that is required to truly measure. And if we are able to measure properly tourism's impact, we'll be able to manage better the whole process and to guarantee outcomes. People continue to say that tourism is an extractive industry, which is, in a way, true, but is not really fair to what tourism does and how it impacts every facet of economic activity and how it indeed influences the lives and development of communities across the space. But the work has not been done. And in the new dispensation, we are going to be focusing on creating that framework that will allow for our partners to come into the industry understanding very, very well what are the possibilities of tourism and how their skill and their assiduity to purpose and their own creativity and innovation can drive that to another level to enable rich, solid prosperity for the people of our country. And we are excited about the prospects of looking even at Spruce Up as another vehicle through which community tourism can be expanded. And this year we are providing you with $5 million to assist in creating some of these facilities within your community to advance and promote tourism. But we want to expand that further in the new round when we are back after the next event. Madam Speaker, we are looking at transforming the ground transportation system. And our Minister of State has been working very closely with our ground transportation partners. And we are excited about creating a new vista for them, a deeper understanding of how to present their own products and how to negotiate and how to extract more from that space. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, is to create an opportunity for Jamaicans under a new and exciting program that we will bring in the next round, Prime Minister, called Jamaica First. And tourism will be driven by that concept of Jamaica First. And Jamaica First doesn't mean that foreign investors will not be welcome and be promoted. But what it means is that we will build the capacity of our Jamaicans so that they are always first in the line for all the benefits that come from tourism. And some other people only talk about it. Some other people only say that tourism workers should be getting this and getting that. But we are securing the future of the tourism workers so that anything and everything that happens in the industry, they will be first. And the exciting part of it, Madam Speaker, in closing, is that already we are seeing the fruits of it. So as we conclude, let us reflect upon the transformative journey our nation has embarked upon together. Tourism under this administration has blossomed far beyond an industry. It has become the very heartbeat of Jamaica, fueling prosperity, growth, and unity throughout every community and corridor. Over the past 2 terms, we have witnessed tourism ignite unprecedented growth in our agricultural fields, uplifting our farmers and revitalizing rural economies. We have seen our manufacturing sector thrive, proudly delivering Jamaican-made goods that stand tall on the global stage. Our infrastructure has experienced significant advancement, new roads, upgraded ports, and world-class airports, all vital arteries of progress connecting communities across our island. Critically, Mr. Speaker, tourism has reinforced national security, creating safer, more peaceful environment, not just for visitors, but fundamentally for every Jamaican citizen. It has elevated our cultural and creative industries, spotlighting Jamaican artists, musicians, and performers internationally, preserving our heritage and inspiring pride among our people. Tourism has become a symbol of inclusivity, providing opportunities equally across our cities and countrysides, empowering individual families and communities alike. Every Jamaican, from Kingston to Montego Bay, from the Blue Mountains to the shores of Negril, have felt the tangible benefit of our collective effort. It is clear we have set a course that leaves no community behind, ensuring that the prosperity tourism generates touches every Jamaican heart and home. Yet our work is not finished. A 3rd term for this administration is not simply continuity. It is an opportunity to deepen and expand the achievements we have worked tirelessly for. It is our own chance to build upon solid foundation and to further amplify tourist transformative power. With your continued support, we pledge to intensify investment in community tourism, strengthen local enterprises, foster sustainability, and ensure every Jamaican reaps the full reward of our shared growth. Together, we have already achieved so much, yet the best is yet to come. Let us move forward with unity, optimism, and resolve, fully committed to a Jamaica where everyone thrives, where dignity and prosperity are universal, and where tourism continues to be our nation's lifeblood and pride. I feel deep in my heart that Jamaica knows the truth, and Jamaica will choose. Mr. Speaker, the next speaker will be the member from St. Mary Central. I know.
The member from St. Mary Central, you now have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I rise to make this presentation in the 22nd year and the 5th term as Member of Parliament for the great constituency of St. Mary Central. At the outset, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank Almighty God for giving me strength and wisdom to serve my fellow Jamaicans and my constituents who have placed me in this noble house. I thank especially my constituents who have continued to repose their confidence in me by re-electing me to be their Member of Parliament for the past 22 years and 5 elections. The journey has not always been smooth sailing. It has its ups and downs. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, the satisfaction that one gets from serving the people eclipses any disappointment. I want to express my gratitude to my constituency organization, comprising my constituency executive members, divisional organizers, and the many hundreds of workers who toil in the political vineyard. To my constituency chairman, Comrade Omar Newell, and my 3 councillors, Paul Fife, Corinne MacDonald, and Councillor Everton Garvey, who are here. And the Hampstead Divisional Chairman, Comrade Vivian Silveira, I want to say a big thank you. There are also persons, Mr. Speaker, who, not named, but will know themselves, who are my friends, as well as those who belong to corporate Jamaica, who have ensured that all arrangements are in place during and outside of the campaign period. And I want to say a grateful thanks. Special thanks to my driver, Ricardo Henry, and security detail, Constable Albert Anderson and District Constable Chris Saunders, for the long hours they work and for conveying me safely. To my party leader, Mr. Mark Golden, I want to say a big thank you for your guidance and support, and to say to you, big things are in store for you very soon. To my parliamentary colleagues on both sides of the House, for their collegiality, friendship, and comradeship. Even though we are from different political parties, your camaraderie always triumphs. And to you, Mr. Speaker, and by extension, Madam Speaker, for conducting the affairs of this Parliament, and for, well, Madam Speaker, your graciousness. But, Mr. Speaker, even though we do not always see eye to eye on your rulings, we have respectfully complied with them. Finally, Madam Speaker, to my family, my wife Nadine and my children, Kimberly, who is here, and Maurice. And our two additions to the family, our grandsons, Alexander and Zachary, for their forbearance and patience. And yes, long suffering for allowing me time off from family and sharing with the broader constituents. I'm eternally grateful and want to say publicly, as I've said before, I love all of you. Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, I speak today not only to contribute to this annual sectoral debate about health and wellness and education, but as a proud Jamaican deeply concerned for the state of our nation's public health. Yes, Minister. The system stands at a crossroads, battered by neglect, inefficiency, waste, and lack of meaningful accountability. Despite the spirited defense given a week ago, the reality is that Jamaica's public health system is at a critical breakpoint. Equipment failures, industrial action at every level of staff, overcrowded, deteriorating facilities have become the daily reality for our people. Many Jamaicans visiting hospitals for needed or emergency care have spent days and weeks fighting to be accommodated with a bed. Some have been forced to remain on stretchers, in wheelchairs, on chairs and benches, and yet others have had to make whole ground their bed, even if not rock stone their pillow. Minister, you must be aware of these situations, which are not limited and were not limited to the COVID pandemic period. Neither are they limited to any particular institution, urban or rural, whether type A, B, or C. In all of them it exists. The government's focus on public relations, Chris, and optics, rather than the actual delivery of service, has pushed the sector to the brink of collapse. Each week, we see or hear of another grieving family, another life lost, another tragedy that could have been prevented. And you know, Mr. Speaker, with glee, the minister in berating the previous government handling of health pointed to a newspaper article of 2015, which mentioned, and I quote, doctors use plastic bags as aprons in operating theaters, unquote. This doesn't happen nowadays. You know, Minister, that not happen. At least we haven't heard about it. But what happens, Mr. Speaker, is that surgeries are aborted because of the absence of even theater linen. And we only could look at what happened in Notre Bay the other day in a TVJ expose in June 3, 2025, because of the absence of functioning theaters, because theaters have become mold infested and out of commission. At least in 2015, patients were getting the much needed surgery with the aprons from plastic bag. One cannot say the same for today. Mr. Speaker, this is not just a crisis of infrastructure, but a crisis of leadership and compassion. Madam Speaker, nothing highlights, Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry, this crisis more starkly than the recent procurement scandal involving the $31 million drill. The matter is before the court, so we're not going to go into specific details here. Suffice it to say, $31 million is money that could have been used to purchase a drill and life-saving medications, repair broken equipment, or hire much-needed staff. We must question the value for money proposition and assert only that accountability is needed in the system. The country is asking and demanding answers. We join them. We demand a full and independent investigation. Tell the people of Jamaica how their money is being spent, and those responsible must be held to account. This, Mr. Speaker, is not a time for excuses. This is a time for action. The government must act decisively to restore trust and ensure that every dollar spent on healthcare delivers real value for money to the people of Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, the Cornwall Regional Hospital is the saddest situation in the public health system and represents a continuing crisis. And you, Mr. Speaker, more than anybody else knows about that. It affects your constituency. It has affected the entire Western Jamaica for nearly a decade. People of 5 parishes have no access to health care, proper health care at the only type A facility in that part of Jamaica. the closure. Our limited operation began in 2016, as we all know, due to complaints of noxious fumes. And Jamaica remains without a firm date for completion of the engineering and construction work, and without a date for the reopening and provision of full services the public expects from a Type A facility. You know, Mr. Speaker, during the sectoral presentation, the minister was at pains to somehow minimize the humongous bill, which the project has also cost taxpayers money, and which is also, in all likelihood, is still unknown, as the completion was pushed back only days before he spoke. How could the minister attempt to portray that the Cornwall Regional Hospital project has been anything but a complete disaster for the people of Jamaica, especially those needing health care? But, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, we know election is in the air, when for the first time publicly we hear the minister expressing some remorse and being sorry for the debacle at Cornwall Regional Hospital. Mr. Speaker, it is disingenuous of the minister to come here and speak about the 9.4 billion, I use in your word, already spent for fees, construction, and equipment, without acknowledging that the estimates of expenditure, and I have it right here, Mr. Speaker, this book, prepared and presented by his government and Ministry of Finance, had projected the total cost to almost 23 billion. In fact, Mr. Speaker, 21.4, which is in this book, for 25-26. But guess what? The minister decided to tag on another 2.1, as was indicated by him at the opening of the administrative block in April 2025. Here, government touts 23.5 Cornwall Regional Hospital overhaul. These numbers were not created by the opposition. These are your numbers, Minister. And I challenge you to indicate where any member of the opposition speaking on any platform has indicated that the figure is 26 or 27, as you alluded to. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we have had over the years expressed concerns about the continuing cost escalation, which at times seem to have had no end. I remember in 2021, I said it was going to cost 10. The minister scoffed at it. He rubbished it and said, I don't know where my colleague got those figures from, but I'm going to have a talk with him about it to find out how he came by those. Which at times, Mr. Speaker, seem to have moved from single-digit billions to this whopping number. We have even visited the site to see firsthand and to allay the concern. So after almost 10 years, several numbers providing annual estimates. And your sectoral address last week, my question is, Minister, do you really know the number? Buy a drink. And speaking of numbers, Mr. Speaker, and speaking of numbers, the minister indicated that there has been an increase in number of mental health visits to the health facilities, moving from 107,000 visits in 2015 to 190,000 in 2021. It would be helpful to give a better indication were the minister able to give the numbers in the last calendar year. As I suspect these numbers are much greater. But let's use those numbers. It is almost a 100% increase. And even though we know that mental health illness is on the rise worldwide, and not something to trivialize, one cannot help but wondering whether this increase over the past 9 years is a result of the hardships and the stresses that the Jamaican people have had to encounter under this government, leading to anxieties and depression over the period of time. And if you want a comparison, Mr. Speaker, compare USA. They had 43.4 million in 2015 and 57.8 million in 2021, a 33% rise. But we're almost looking at a 100%. And Minister, I Googled this so you can go check it too. Mr. Speaker, as we fight for accountability in our health system, we must also confront another grave issue, the safety of our healthcare workers. Something that has always been said. Yes, Minister, you have said it before. I want to say it as well, because I want to take a moment to acknowledge and condemn in the strongest possible terms the recent attack on the nurse at University Hospital of the West Indies. Our doctors, our nurses, and the entire support staff are the backbone of our health system. They work tirelessly, even under impossible conditions, to care for our people. Any attack on them is an attack on all of us and the very fabric of our society. And we therefore call on the government to take immediate steps to ensure the safety and security of all healthcare workers. This must include increased security measures, better support system, and a zero-tolerance approach to violence in our hospitals and clinics. The People's National Party is committed to a new vision for healthcare, one that puts people, not buildings, first. We'll pivot away from photo ops on medical projects and ribbon-cutting ceremonies and focus on enhancing service delivery across all clinics and hospitals island-wide. Every operating theatre from KPH to Cornwall Regional will be made fully functional. No more years-long wait for surgery. We will move from ribbon cutting to cutting hernias and saving lives. And Mr. Speaker, even as we await the promised land with the announced 27 new theatres, the government must get the existing ones working efficiently and consistently. There is a better way of delivering health service to the people, and we are committing to do that in the new PNP government to take office later this year. And this will include urgent care and primary care. We will expand urgent care centres and extend clinic hours, and we see Minister start some of that, ensuring that Jamaicans can access care quickly and efficiently without sleeping on benches or floors or even being herded like cattle in the current A&E areas of our hospital. Every parish hospital will be equipped with functional diagnostic equipment, including CT scanners. And we don't need specialist radiologists for these. We need radiographers because we use, Minister, as you have indicated, the ICT backbone to read these. No more waiting for ambulances to transport patients for basic scan. No more excuse for playing the blame game. This will be done, continuing the effort of the partisan administration, which started to provide MRI machines. We will launch national screening programs for cancer, diabetes, hypertension, and other leading causes of death. Prevention and early treatment will be our mantra. We will invest in our healthcare professionals, offering advanced training, better compensation, and housing incentives to attract and retain the best talent. We will implement a robust preventative maintenance program for all health facilities and equipment, ending the cycle of breakdowns and service disruptions. You know, Mr. Speaker, many times the country is reminded by the minister that whatever problem exists in the sector was inherited by him. However, Mr. Speaker, the minister must be reminded that having recognized the problem and being there for 9 years, it was his responsibility as minister to fix it. But it may seem that the minister is only now recognizing these problems. And Mr. Speaker, if that is the case, he has failed in his task as minister. But as I said earlier on, elections are in the air. A new PNP government also recognized the invaluable contribution of volunteers, medical missions, and health fairs. We will make it easier. We will make it easier for these good Samaritans to serve, cutting through the bureaucracy that hinders their work, and ensuring that no child is denied a school medical because of costs. Mr. Speaker, the health and wellness of our nation cannot be left to chance, nor can it be sacrificed for political gain or personal enrichment from whichever side. The next PNP government will put people before politics, service before self, and accountability before excuses. We will build trust, we will restore dignity, and deliver the quality health care that every Jamaican deserves. Mr. Speaker, I now turn to the important subject of education. I'm done with you, Chris, for now. I will not just merely critique present policy, but also sound a national alarm. Our education system is under siege, not by natural disaster, not by war, but by the inaction of a government failing to protect our most vital resources, our students and our teachers. For 3 years now, we have watched hundreds of qualified Jamaican teachers walk away from our classrooms, not only from the profession, but from the country. They are being poached by foreign systems that offer them what we refuse to: respect, resource, and a real future. To be clear, Mr. Speaker, this is not a natural phenomenon. It's a policy failure. We have repeatedly asked the government how many teachers have left over the last 5 years. How many classrooms are without specialist teachers? What is the plan? It is clear, Mr. Speaker, there is no plan. Only press releases. And while the government fiddles, schools are left scrambling to import teachers from all over, from Ghana, without cultural orientation, without a clear strategy, a mere few days before the school term. Meanwhile, what is the result? Only 18% of our students are passing 5 or more CSEC subjects, including maths and English. That means 82% are not academically equipped to access quality jobs, tertiary education, or meaningful advancement in life. That is the cost of teacher migration. That is the cost of policy neglect. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, this nation cannot continue to have any more Pembroke Hall high schools, cannot have more students entering high schools unable to read and write, Madam Speaker. And guess what? This is not unique to that school that has come to national prominence recently, as a survey of the vast majority of high schools will reveal a similar disturbing pattern. It is not teacher issue alone. Many factors have now combined to create a major national emergency. The PNP has major policy initiatives to address the crisis. We will not allow this brain drain to continue unchecked. We have developed a comprehensive teacher retention plan, NHT mortgage benefits for teachers, vehicle duty concessions for teachers, student loan forgiveness for teachers, free internet for teachers, modern classroom and staff rooms for teachers, and a national campaign for teacher respect. Each week, yes, Prime Minister, each week, students in rural Jamaica are missing school because they cannot afford bus fare. This is 2025. That is unacceptable. The PNP proposes a 2,500 weekly transportation subsidy for students in rural communities to ensure that school is not a privilege for those who live close to school or the wealthy, but a right for every child everywhere. Let us talk about the Pass Lunch program. $180 per child per day. That is the JLP government solution. You cannot buy a bottle of water and a patty for that, much less a nutritious meal. The PNP proposes a $400 per child per day, an amount backed by actual costs of preparation. Today, many schools have a path line and a regular lunch line. 2 lines, 2 Jamaicans. This is social apartheid playing out in our cafeterias and ultimately resulting in students accepting that social apartheid is a feature of our country and reinforcing the notion of 2 Jamaicans. That cannot happen, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker. The PNP says 1 lunch line, 1 meal standard, 1 Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, the nutrition list leads me to the most important policy question we need to face, and that is priority funding for the start in life, early childhood education. We must invest here to give the right start in terms of pedagogy and nutrition. The experts say 0 to 4 are the most important years in the learning life of children. If we enhance its early childhood experience, then the primary educational component will become much easier. Treat the youths right by focusing on the start, given at early childhood years. So no one will be left behind, because every child can learn and every child must learn. Principals are crying out. Schools are drowning under costs with inadequate subvention. We will implement and increase an index subvention policy so principals can plan, purchase, and protect their schools without constant begging or bake sales. The PNP will introduce the First in Family Scholarship, creating full tuition for the first child in a family to matriculate to university. This, Mr. Speaker, is not a financial policy. It is a vision for generational transformation. Transformation. 1 degree in a household often means an entire family lifted. Mr. Speaker, there is a choice before us. This Parliament stands at a crossroad. One path continues with unpaid teachers, segregated lunches, and absent students. The other path, the PNP's path, builds a system where students arrive, learn, eat, succeed, and are taught by professionals who feel valued and respected. You cannot fix education. You cannot fix education if your teachers are leaving. You cannot lift Jamaica if your students are falling behind. You cannot defend the status quo when only 18% of the students are passing the minimum academic threshold. The PNP, Mr. Speaker, is ready to lead with bold, costed, compassionate reform. Let us teach, let us feed, let us transport, and let us transform. Mr. Speaker, relax, Darrell, relax. Mr. Speaker, this
Members.
concludes.
Members.
Darren, my friend, calm down, calm down. Mr. Speaker. Relax yourself, man.
Members. Can we allow
Mr. Speaker.
Can we allow the member to complete his presentation? Member, you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, This, I am still, and a patriot. This concludes my time here in this House after 5 consecutive terms, representing the people of St. Mary's Central. And you're giving us some. Are you giving us some? We have never ceased extending, they have never ceased extending understanding, patience, and many kindnesses over the past 23 years. I'm comforted by the fact that as I leave them in good hands. As I retreat from representational politics, but still committed to St. Mary and Jamaica. I quote, Mr. Speaker, I quote the prophet Isaiah in chapter 41, verse 10. To all my wonderful people in Central St. Mary, and I quote, so do not fear, for I am with you, unquote. As I leave, I further assure them through the words of Psalm 121, verse 8. The Lord will keep your going out and your coming in from this time on and forevermore. Mr. Speaker, it has been a privilege of a lifetime to serve the constituency from which I sprung and from which continues to be life-sustaining. I thank the many who have been here with me and for me. I thank those who have seen what I have done and found it necessary to say thank you. I know, Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker, I ask that the Speaker be allowed an additional 5 minutes to complete his presentation. Thank you.
The request is on the floor that the Speaker be allowed an additional 5 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Those against, the ayes have it.
thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the members. Mr. Speaker, a couple days ago I received a message from the mother of a student on Facebook Messenger. It reads, good day, Mr. Morris. Do you remember John Brown? I'll change his name. Was boy of the year for 2018-2019 and left St. Mary High as a deputy head boy. Then moved on to UTech. In his first year, where his GPA was 3.8, he got a scholarship, the sum of 100,000. The second year's GPA was 3.89. He got a scholarship to Brandon University in Manitoba, Canada. 3 days before he gets his result at Brandon University, they emailed him from UTech, letting him know he had made the dean's list. His GPA was now 3.95. So exactly 3 days he had gotten his results from Brandon University, where his GPA had gone to 4.23. He got a scholarship and made the dean's list also at Brandon. All the time he was giving me, the mother, A and A+. But this semester he gave me 5 A+. I just want to take the time out to say thanks to you and the teachers at St. Mary High who helped him to be the young man he had become. He has not only made his family proud, but he has made you, Dr. Mr. Guy, and all the teachers who played a part in his life, and also go out there and made Jamaica proud at Brandon University, getting the highest distinction in his faculty. And again, thanks for the tuition money I used to get every year to help with his tuition as a single mother. Without taking student loans. Thank you, sir, for believing in my son. Thank you. You know, he lives right next door to school, though. He lives right next door to school. And having said that, when I received that, Mr. Speaker, I was reminded of the great American memorist and poet Maya Angelou, who said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel." I thank also the parliamentary staff who have been helpful, resourceful, and always willing to assist so we could get on with the people's business. Special thanks to the 4 clerks to the House of Parliament who have served during my tenure. Mrs. Shirley Lewis, Mrs. Heather Cook, Ms. Valerie Curtis, and incumbent Ms. Colleen Lowe. I thank you all. I thank also the many public servants who have helped me along the way whilst I was Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Transport Works and Housing, 2012 to 16. My then, with responsibility for housing, with my then permanent secretary, now cabinet secretary, Honorable Audrey Sewell, my CTD in the ministry, Mrs. Doreen Prendergast, my then senior advisor, Mr. Jaron Green, my many board members, chairmen, and heads of agencies, and all the individuals who contributed to my growth and development over the years and who did good work. I also take some satisfaction in some of the accomplishments during my time as minister. Piloting in the Road Traffic Act of 2015 in the House of Representatives in November of that year, and after years of deliberation, but was not made into law until 2018. The amendment to the Mortgage Insurance Act of 2015, which act facilitates a reduction in the amount required for depositing a home from as high as 15% of the purchase price to as low as 3% deposit. The establishment of a national land titling program in the government, where all ministries were brought under one umbrella group, effecting coordinated and quick distribution of titles in their respective ministries, as well as delinking titling from infrastructure completion so that the beneficiaries of those titles could utilize them as collateral for investment. The policy decision of writing off balances owed by homeowners to the Housing Corporation of Jamaica, subsequent HAJ, under the Operation Pride schemes, so they were able to receive their titles to utilize for investment purposes, among other measures. I belong to the class of 2002, and the only remaining colleague of that class in the Parliament is a member for St. Thomas Weston. Collectively as a group, Mr. Speaker, we had high aspirations and expectations of doing a lot.
Stop it.
Changing the system, making Parliament better, serving our constituents better, and by extension, making our nation a better place. So, Mr. Speaker, I leave not saying mission accomplished, but asserting a luta continua. The struggle continues to build a better Jamaica for all Jamaicans, not just a few. To my returning colleagues, develop policies which are national in scope, far-reaching in effect, and efficacious in their benefit to mankind. Remember, faith is confidence in what we hope for and the conviction of things not seen. May God continue to bless you all in your work, and may God continue to bless your nation.
House Leader.
Okay, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to, on behalf of the whole House, to express, our appreciation to the member who have served and served so well over the last 22 years. We want to wish him well, and since this is his last presentation, major presentation to this House, we would like for him to go in the style that normally members of value and worth and longevity go. And I will have to arrange that, Mr. Speaker, at an appropriate time before we go for recess, because I really appreciate good service on behalf of all of us. Mr. Speaker, I now ask that the sectoral debate be suspended until next Tuesday, the 24th of June, when we will have a number of speakers headlined by the Deputy House Leader and member for St. Catherine Central, the Honorable Olivia Babsey-Grange. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The request is on the floor that the sectoral debate be suspended until next week, Tuesday. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the recommittal of the other agenda items which you suspended to facilitate the sectoral debate. May it please you, Mr. Speaker.
The request is that the recommittal of the agenda be taken. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Statement by ministers.
Mr. Speaker, we have one statement by the Minister, and I now invite you to ask the Minister of Health and Wellness and member for St. Catherine West Central to make his statement.
This is very brief, and but before I get into the statement, I want to join my colleague, Leader of Government Business, in commending and wishing all the very best to my colleague counterpart on that side, MP Guy. Mr. Speaker, as the person on the receiving end for the better part of a few years until he was otherwise assigned, I would go that far. I want to say, I want to say for the record that I have enjoyed the discussion, the discourse between us. He has demonstrated very consistently a statesman-like approach. Not that he has agreed with everything I say, and most time he does not, but he has been a gentleman in terms of his approach, and I think that he has made the Parliament and the debate in the Parliament very civil. Certainly the discussion between he and I don't want to commend him and recognize him for that, Mr. Speaker. And I truly do wish him all the best. He's a good human being. Mr. Speaker, I just want to clarify. Sorry? No, of course not. No, I want to clarify. No, I wouldn't grace that type of rhetoric with a response. I want to clarify in the Parliament a couple of things that I had said in my sectoral. I'll just read it quickly. Giving an update on the diagnostics equipment for public patients. First of all, I do maintain, Mr. Speaker, that what we have been able to procure and install at this point in time is far more than what existed back in 2015, which was the theme of my presentation. Nevertheless, I want to just allow out of absolute transparency, to say what is in the system as we speak and give an indication of what is coming. So I did say that in 2024, some 703,000 imaging tests were conducted. And over the past year, we have acquired some 17 additional pieces of diagnostic equipment. We are in the process currently, Mr. Speaker, of acquiring through a new policy arrangement, leasing arrangement, some 16 additional pieces, including 10 CT scans and 6 MRI machines. The current state, and so that is to come. The current state of affairs, we have 5 CT scan machines, 2 each at the Kingston Public Hospital and University Hospital of the West Indies, 1 at Cornwall Regional Hospital. The number at UHWI will double shortly. We are well on the way for the installation of 2 additional CT scan machines. So Kingston Public 2, Cornwall Regional 1, UHWI 2 preparations being made for 2 additional. The public can expect a 4-fold increase in the number of MRI machines in the system, in addition to the 1 currently at the University Hospital of the West Indies. 3 more are to be procured, and 1 will be added once the Western Child and Adolescent Hospital begins operations sometime later on this year, certainly before the end of the year. These are already in the procurement process. So in terms of MRI machines, University Hospital of the West Indies has plus 1 3T is to be procured. Western Child, 1 to be Western Child and Adolescent Hospital, 1 to be installed for the opening of the hospital. Currently, mammogram services in the public health system, Mr. Speaker, is offered from 3 locations: Cornwall Regional, Kingston Public, and the University Hospital of the West Indies. When we assumed office, we had none in the public health system. We are also equipped with both digital and analog X-ray units, 16 digital X-rays available for use across the island, another 2 to be brought on board shortly. So 1 is now being installed at Cornwall and the National Chest Hospital, respectively. They're building out the facilities to install those. Analog units are equipped with digital converters, Mr. Speaker, which are a total of 9 across the public health system. So in terms of digital X-ray units, Cornwall Regional Hospital with 1 to be installed, Maypen Hospital, Spanish Town Hospital, Bustamante Hospital for Children, Kingston Public Hospital, Savlamar Hospital 1, Falmouth 2, Noel Holmes 1, Black River 1, Port Maria Hospital 1, the University of the Hospital 3, National Chest 1 to be installed shortly, it's already here. And the analog with digital converter, we have Kingston Public 1, Princess Margaret 1, Linstead 1, Bustamante Hospital 1, Port Antonio 1, Onoto Bay Hospital 1, Mandeville Regional Hospital 2, and Percy Jr. 1. Additionally, Mr. Speaker, the public health system is equipped with the 11 portable X-ray machines, Kingston Public Hospital 2, Bustamante Hospital for Children 2, Mandeville Regional Hospital 2, Savlamar 1, St. Anne's Bay 1, National Chest 1, and University Hospital of the West Indies with 2. It is to be noted also that with the leasing arrangement that we are now pursuing, which we will speak to in more specific terms, hopefully within another few weeks, not only are we outsourcing the acquisition of the equipment that will be placed in the hospital under a leasing arrangement, but that will come with servicing.
This is Make We Talk breaking news. We interrupt this program to bring you a very special item of news just into me that Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness, Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie, has called an emergency meeting at Belmont Road to meet with all 63 candidates of the Jamaica Labour Party. Thus, Prime Minister and Party Leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, Andrew Michael Holness, and Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie has called for an emergency meeting, at Belmont Road to meet with all 63 members of Parliament. What we're getting to understand is that the Prime Minister is expected to give all his candidates their election shirts and other apparatus. It seems as if the election is near. That's the news coming into us. If you can hear us, the news coming into us is that Prime Minister Andrew Holness, Party Leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, and Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie has called a meeting at Belmont Road this evening to meet with all 63 members of Parliament for the Jamaica Labour Party. And we're being told that they will be given all the election apparatus or paraphernalia, what they want to call them, to gear up for the election. Election is near. Election 2025 is near. That's the word coming to me. That's the word coming to me right now. That Prime Minister Andrew Holness has called for an emergency meeting at Belmont Road sometime this evening, where he'll be meeting with all 63. Are you hearing me? Are you all hearing me? Let me know if you're all hearing me. The system here is up and going, so I don't know what's going on. Yes, what I'm getting to understand, I'm pretty much sure you all are hearing me clearly. You all are hearing me clearly? Nobody answering me. Let me figure out something here. Let me figure out something here. Loud and clear. Thank you very much. Thank you all very much. Let me recap this thing again based on what we're hearing here.
This is Make We Talk breaking news.
News coming into the Make We Talk News Center. Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness, leader of the Jamaica Labour Party, and Deputy Leader Desmond McKenzie has called for an emergency meeting at Belmont Road. We're being told that the Prime Minister will be handing out to all 63 members of Parliament, or 63 candidates rather, all 63 candidates, his outline of this election and also T-shirts and everything like that to give to their constituencies. So, based on what we're hearing, that the date of the election is near. The date of the election is near. Based on what we're hearing, that there is an emergency meeting at Belmont Road, and he will be calling election soon. Hopefully before the end of September, hopefully before September. We don't know what date he's going to call the election, but that's what we're hearing. I want to say thank you all very much for coming. Let's go back to what's going on in the Parliament with Dr. Christopher Tufton.
This is Make We Talk breaking news.
Support when it has to be outsourced, but our ambulances also are primarily used for transfer of patients in keeping with the hub and spoke approach to health. There are some services you won't get at some places. So, yeah, well, unfortunately, you are likely not to be a part of that anytime soon. So you'll have to wait a very long time. Or certainly that's what we are working for. But yeah, I get the point you're making, that we need more ambulances for response in terms of trauma. and there's no doubt about that. We are working with the Ministry of Local Government, which is the primary agency that does road response through the fire department. The ambulances rightfully are to be there. There are some stationed in some stations. I think we need more. Our ambulances tend to move patients between hospitals, between institutions, or in the case of diagnostics. And we could always do it more, but I think our fleet right now is the best it has been in a very, very long time. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House are the following. Annual report of the National Council on Education for the financial year 2019-2020. Annual report of the Financial Investigations Division for the financial year 2018-2019. The Public Procurement National Development Project, Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program Order of 2025 and its resolution under the Public Procurement Act. The law reform, zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, extension of period of operation orders 2025 and their respective resolutions in respect of the Greenwich Town Zone, the Parade Garden Zone, the Savannah Lamar Zone, the Augusttown Zone, the Denham Town Community Zone, the Mount Salem Community and Environs in the Parish of St. James Zone, and the Norwood Community in the Parish of St. James Zone under the law reform, zones of special operations, special security and community development measures Act of 2017. Ministry Papers numbered 34 to 40 of 2025 entitled The Law Reform, Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Social Interventions for the period January 2, 2025 to June 4, 2025, dated June 4, 2025 in respect of the Greenwich Town Zone, the Parade Garden Zone, and the Savannah Lamar Community Zone. Social interventions dated January 2, 2025 to June 5, 2025, dated June 5, 2025 in respect of the Augusttown Community Zone, the Denham Town Community Zone, the Mount Salem Community Zone, and the Norwood Community Zone, respectively. Annual report of the Southern Regional Health Authority for the financial year 2015-2016 and its related ministry paper numbered 41 of 2025, entitled Annual Report of the Southern Regional Health Authority for the financial year April 2015 to March 2016. The Auditor General's Department Statement of Receipts and Payments of the Contingency Fund for the year ended March 31, 2023. The Auditor General's Department Certified Appropriation Accounts under Head 19000 for the Ministry of Justice for the year 2020-2021. Head 19000C from Ministry of Justice for the year 2020-2021. Head 72000, Ministry of Local Government and Community Development for the year 2023-2024. And finally, Head 72000, Recurrent from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development for the year 2023-2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bills brought from the Senate. Petitions. Papers. Report from committees. Notices of motion given orally. Question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the Public Procurement Act, the Public Procurement National Development Project, Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program, Order 2025 Resolution. Whereas Section 2 of the Public Procurement Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides that a national development project means a development project approved by the Cabinet and Parliament to which the Act or any provision thereof is declared not to apply by order of the Minister under Section 3.3, and whereas by virtue of Section 3.3 of the Act, the Minister may, by order, subject to affirmative resolution, declare that the Act or any provision thereof shall not apply to a public-private partnership approved by the government, by the Cabinet, to a national development project in respect of the procurement of any class of goods, works, or services to a public body, as the Minister may, subject to such terms and conditions, if any, specify. And whereas on the 26th day of May 2025, the Cabinet approved the declaration of a development project known as the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program to be a national development project to which the Act or any provisions thereof shall not apply. And whereas the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program is a development project including preliminary engineering and design services for the execution of works in 4 phases to effect critical infrastructure enhancements in the parishes of St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland to increase water production and improve the reliability of the water supply to meet the rising consumption demand for potable water and sewage services in the residential, commercial, tourism, and institutional sectors of those parishes. And whereas this Honourable House approves the declaration of a development project known as the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program to be a national development project to which the Act or any provision thereof shall not apply. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. This resolution may be cited as the Public Procurement National Development Project, Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program, Order 2025 Resolution. The declaration of a development project known as the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program to be a national development project to which the Act or any provision thereof shall not apply is approved. The Public Procurement National Development Project, Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program, Order 2025, which was laid on the table of the House on the 17th day of June 2025, is hereby affirmed. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which was given. Thank you.
At the next meeting of the House, I will move that the Honourable House of Representatives approve the following resolution on the law reforms, zones of special operations, special security, and community development measures Act 2017. 1. The law reforms, zones of special operations, special security, and community development measures the Greenwich Town Zone Extension Period and Operation Order 2025 Resolution. 2, the law reforms zones of special operation, special security and community development measures, the Parade Garden Zone Extension Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution. 3, the law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Savalamara Zone Extension Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution. The law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Augustown Zone Extension Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Denham Town Community Zone Extension Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution. The law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Mount Salem Community and Environs in the Parish of St. James Zone Extension of Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution. The law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Norwood Community in the Parish of St. James Zone Extension Period of Operation Order 2025 Resolution, which were all laid on the table of the House on the 17th day of June 2025. Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take these motions.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Whereas by virtue of Section 74(1) of the Data Protection Act, hereinafter referred to as the Act, the Minister may make regulations for giving effect to the provisions of the Act, and whereas Section 28(1)(b) of the Act provides that the disposal of personal data by data controllers shall be in accordance with regulations made under Section 74 of the Act, and whereas Section 74(3)(g) of the Act provides that regulations mentioned in Section 28 of the Act prescribing methods for disposal of personal data shall be subject to affirmative resolution, and whereas on the 4th day of March 2024, the Minister made the Data Protection Disposal of Personal Data Regulations 2024. Now therefore be it resolved by this Honourable House as follows. 1. This resolution may be cited as the Data Protection Disposal of Personal Data Regulations 2024 resolution. And 2. The Data Protection Disposal of Personal Data Regulations 2024, which was laid on the table of the House on the 21st day of March 2024, is hereby affirmed. Mr. Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which was given.
Question and answers to questions.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I intend to ask the Minister of Finance and Public Service the following questions tabled in my name.
Motion that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice. Motion relating to the city of the House. Motion for leave to introduce bills. Presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained. Public business.
Mr. Speaker, on the matter of public business, the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Mining will conclude the matter in relation to the Praedial Larceny Prevention Amendment Act, and of course the other matters for which notice was given earlier, including Zozo, the data protection, disposal, and personal data regulations, and the public procurement, Western Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program, Order 2025, will be taken. May it please you, Mr. Speaker. Ask you to invite the Minister of Agriculture to to speak on the legislative matter in relation to Praedial larceny.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The Praedial larceny use livestock and fish. The Praedial Larceny Prevention Act established a framework for the appointment of agricultural wardens to carry out their duties of detecting the commission of any offence under the Act and any enactment specified in the first schedule. Members, over the past decade, many are government, in fact, many a political party has promised to move the fines under the Act to ensure that they provide a greater deterrent to those who seek to plunder our farmers. In fact, in the PNP manifesto of 2011, they committed, and I quote, to amend the existing legislation, namely the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act, to introduce stiffer penalties, improve legal clarity, and measures like asset forfeiture for offenders. In fact, Minister Clark in 2014 promised that in April 2014 the amendments would come. Again in 2014, then Minister Kelly promised that the amendments were to come. And with an election in front of him in 2016, Minister Keller again promised that the changes to the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act would be tabled. Members, what they couldn't do in their time, we are doing in our time. Mr. Speaker, we have taken a comprehensive approach to the fight against Praedial larceny. At the foundation of that approach, we continue to strengthen and update key pieces of legislation through amendments for the imposition of stiffer penalties and expanded measures to combat the offence of Praedial larceny as created under Section 13 of the Larceny Act and other agricultural-related offences in specified enactments such as the Agricultural Produce Act. This Honourable House will recall that in 2023, we passed the Agricultural Produce Amendment Act to streamline the said act, to bring it in line with modern agricultural practices, and to be more applicable by incorporating stringent provisions in order to deter Praedial larceny and other agricultural-related offences. In fact, members, you remember at that time, we raised the maximum fines from $250,000 to $3 million, and the maximum time in prison from 6 months in prison to 3 years in prison. That is part of the approach that we have taken. The other ring of the approach is to start the recruitment of agricultural wardens, because even though the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act speaks to our agricultural wardens, we have never truly operationalized that system. In fact, last year, with the help of the JCF, we started the recruitment process, and we now have 243 persons who are qualified, who are waiting to start their training for them to become the first cohort of 100 agricultural wardens. Additionally, members, on Friday, the Jamaica Constabulary Force, for the first time in their history, launched an agricultural protection branch, a branch of the police force that is dedicated to fighting agricultural crime. At that time, I said to the officers,
and the new 48 officers have been transferred to that branch, that we would come to the House today to move and pass this bill, the Praedial Larceny Prevention Amendment Act of 2025, which has its decision, its genesis in the Cabinet Decision number 1324 of last year, which gave approval for the amendment of the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act, the consequential amendments to the relevant sections of the enactments, including the Trespass Act, Malicious Injuries to Property Act, the Country Fires Act, the Unlawful Possession of Property Act, and the Larceny Act, and also amendment to Section 21 of the Animals, Diseases, and Importation Act. Cabinet on May 26, 2025, approved the tabling of this bill, and having gone through the scrutiny of the Attorney General's chambers, key ministry stakeholders, and the Legislative Committee of Cabinet, this bill is now here. The bill, when enacted, will strengthen the penalties to be imposed upon an offender for committing any offense under the Act or the enactment specified in the first schedule of the Act. The objective of the amendments is to improve deterrence and to reinforce the legal framework by increasing the fines and terms of imprisonment to effectively address the persistent challenges posed by agricultural crimes, thereby safeguarding the sector. For instance, this bill seeks to expand the powers of the agricultural wardens, enabling them to enforce provisions under related legislation, including the Agricultural Produce Act and the Animal Disease and Importation, Market of Bovine Animals regulations. We will also apply consequential amendments to critical enactments in the first schedule of the Act to strengthen weak penalties under certain pieces of legislation, to include the Trespass Act, the Malicious Injuries to Property Act, the Unlawful Possession of Property, and the Country Fires Act. And we will include additional offenses under the Larceny Act, such as robbery and receiving stolen property, and under the Malicious Injuries to Property Act, such as setting fire to crops, to give wardens broader powers to act in agricultural-related crimes. I will now quickly go through a clause-by-clause breakdown of the bill. The bill commences with the enactment clause. Clause 1 provides the short title of the bill and stipulates how the bill is to be read and construed, which is that the bill is to be read as one with the principal act. The clause also stipulates when sections 2 and 8 are to come into operation, which shall be on a day appointed by the minister. There's an amendment to section 2 of the principal act, and this amendment for the first time introduces into law the ability for a victim impact statement to be provided, and I will speak a little bit more about that as we go through the clauses. Amendment to section 11 of the principal act. This clause intends to amend section 11, which deals with the powers of search, by deleting the words $40,000 wherever they appear and replacing them with $1 million. So what we're doing is moving the fine from $40,000 to $1 million in relation to these offenses. We will also insert subsection 4 to allow a constable or a warden to call upon any person to aid and assist in the execution of the duties under the Act, and where such person refuses without lawful excuse to aid and assist such constable or warden, the person commits an offense, and upon summary conviction before a judge of the parish court, be liable to a fine not exceeding $250,000, and in default of payment, serve a prison term not exceeding 3 months. We're amending section 12 of the Principal Act, which deals with forfeiture of property used for the commission of an offense. In the old section 12 members, you could only forfeit property used for the commission of an offense if the sentence was 2 years or more. We're reducing that time frame by deleting the words 2 years and replace them with the words 1 year. In clause 5, we intend to repeal section 13 of the Principal Act, which deals with assaulting, obstructing, or threatening an agricultural warden, and to replace same with a new section 13 with the following marginal note. assault or obstruct, etc. of agricultural warden. This clause stipulates that an offense is committed where a person assaults, obstructs, or threatens an agricultural warden, a constable, or any person acting in aid of such warden or constable in the execution of his duties. Or B, aids, incites, or encourages any other person to do so, and will be liable for summary conviction before a judge of the parish court to a fine not exceeding $1 million, and in default of payment of such fine to a term not exceeding 6 months. This clause 6 intends to amend section 14 of the Principal Act, which deals with the disposal of perishable agricultural produce, livestock, and fish, by deleting from subsection 2 the incorrect word and replacing it with the correct spelling of the word identify, and by deleting from subsection 8 the words $40,000 and replacing with the words $500,000. So in this case, we're moving the fine from $40,000 to $500,000. In clause 7, we amend sections 15 and 16 of the Principal Act, which deals respectively penalty on possession of clothing, etc., by persons not agricultural wardens, and penalty on unauthorized use of the agricultural warden uniform, by deleting the words $20,000 where they appear and increasing that fine to $5 million, and by deleting the words 1 year wherever they appear and to replace that with 3 years, so therefore increasing the maximum sentence. Clause 8. This clause intends to amend the Principal Act from the day appointed under Section 1 by inserting next after Section 18, Section 18A, with the marginal note, Victim Impact Statement, and which states the following terms. Members, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time that those who are victims of Praedial larceny will be able to, as a part of the proceedings before the court, give a victim impact statement. What 18A says is where any person is convicted of any offense under this act or any offense listed in the first schedule, the court may, before the sentencing of the offender, consider a statement from the victim, hereinafter referred to as the victim impact statement. Members, our farmers have for long lobbied for this, because oftentimes when they are going to be sentencing in these matters, our farmers want to have a say to be able to indicate the sort of damage that has been brought to bear on them. 2 says the minister may make regulations in relation to the form and manner of the submission of the victim impact statement. Clause 9, we amend section 19 of the Principal Act, which deals with penalty, by deleting the words $20,000 and replacing them with the words $500,000. In clause 10, we intend to repeal the first schedule to the Principal Act and to replace the same with a new first schedule, which specifies the enactments and their accompanying sections thereof with details of the offences to which the duties of an agricultural warden relate, which is to detect any offence under this act or the enactments specified in the first schedule. The enactments specified in the first schedule are the Agricultural Produce Act, the Animals, Diseases and Importation, Marking of Bovine Animals Regulations, 2015, the Country Fires Act, the Larceny Act, the Malicious Injuries to Property Act, the Trespass Act, and the Unlawful Possession of Property Act. Clause 11 intends to set out in a schedule specified enactments and the manner in which they are being amended. The said clause is followed by the schedule, which contains 2 columns, columns 1 and 2. Column 1 specifies the enactments, and column 2 provides the details of the amendments to each enactment so specified. The amendments to the specified enactments are consequential amendments to increase fines and terms of imprisonment with respect to relevant offences. The enactments specified on the schedule are the Trespass Act, sections 2, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, and 15, the Malicious Injuries to Property, section 30, the Larceny Act, sections 5, 6, 46B, and 53, the Country Fires Act, section 15.1, the Unlawful Possession of Property Act, Sections 5, 4, and 6, and the Animals, Diseases, and Importation Act, Section 21. The bill concludes with the Memorandum of Objectives and Reasons. In the circumstances and given the matters highlighted, I ask that this Honourable House fully support the passing of the bill entitled the Praedial Larceny Prevention Amendment Act 2025. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bill, read a second time. Read the bill a second time. For the
I invite the member to close.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to say that I support this bill. The life of the Parliament is still in session. These amendments have been called for a very long time. And so, Mr. Speaker, when passed into law, they will make a difference for the farmers, many of whom use the earnings to send their children to school, to take care of their families. And they have been pleading for these amendments, and I want to commend the Minister for bringing them. It is never too late. Many promises have been made because it is well accepted that the changes were required. And so I commend the Minister and I support the bill.
I thank the member from West Central St. James. So, Mr. Speaker, this has been long in coming. And now I simply ask, I bring the debate up. Mr. Speaker, as I was saying, these amendments are long in coming, and as such, I bring the debate to a conclusion and ask that the bill be read a second time.
The request is that the bill be read a second time. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. Clerk.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act, read a second time.
The House will now resolve into the committee stage. I put clause 1. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. I put clause 2 to 11 before us. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. I put the schedule. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. I put the title enacting clause. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it. The question is that I do report the bill as having passed committee stage without any amendment. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. I do report the bill as having passed committee stage without any amendments. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I now ask that the bill be read a third time.
The question is that the bill be read a third time. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
A bill entitled An Act to Amend the Praedial Larceny Prevention Act, read a third time and pass.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which she gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, today we table the Public Procurement National Development Project, Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program Order. Pursuant to the Public Procurement Act, this order seeks to declare that subject to the affirmation of the Houses of Parliament, the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program is a national development project. This project is a critical and strategic program of the National Water Commission to address persistent challenges related to service reliability, system capacity, and climate vulnerability in water supply systems across the Northwest and North Central Jamaica. Mr. Speaker, the Public Procurement Act sets out at Section 3.3b that as Minister, I am empowered to declare by order, subject to affirmative resolution, any matter falling into certain categories as being excluded from the application of the Public Procurement Act. This declaration to exclude such matters is limited to matters falling into the category of a public-private partnership, certain class of goods, works, or services, a public body, or a national development project. To exclude a matter from the application of the Public Procurement Act is not something that is treated lightly, Mr. Speaker, by this government. Such a treatment is reserved for matters of great strategic importance. Subject matters, Mr. Speaker, that are of significant economic and social value to the people of Jamaica. The Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program is a multi-phased initiative which will affect the parishes of St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, Westmoreland, and Hanover, and aims to improve access to potable water and sewage services. This access is vital in supporting a sustainable economy. The program intends to build critical infrastructure and create interconnectivity between treatment facilities along the north and western corridors, which will remove the National Water Commission's constraints to distribute water across the network during outages, drought, change in climate or weather patterns, and peak demand periods. Mr. Speaker, inadequate infrastructure and unreliable water supply threatens the development of communities, people, and the long-term viability of the tourism sector and pose significant public health and environmental risks. The deficiencies in water supply along this major corridor of our nation undermine social, economic stability and present an urgent threat to national development if left unaddressed. Mr. Speaker, conventional procurement timelines, particularly those involving open tendering and multi-stage evaluations, are ill-suited to the scale and urgency of the Western Parishes water supply and Resilience Program. Undue delays could take place and increased costs result from such a treatment given the scale of the program. It is on this basis, Mr. Speaker, as Minister with responsibility for procurement policy, I stand here to recommend to this Honourable House that the government's decision to treat the Western Parishes Water Supply Improvement Programme as a national development project be approved. Mr. Speaker, before I begin the clause by clause of the order, I would like for you to invite Minister Samuda, who I know would love to speak on this project as well. Huh? I go on to the order, or okay. Before I do the clause by clause. You could go to the clauses. All right. Go through the clauses? Yes. All right. Mr. Speaker, I'll go through the clause by clause of the order. I will now proceed to look at each paragraph of the order. Mr. Speaker, the order begins by addressing preliminary issues such as the enabling powers in the Public Procurement Act, which establishes my authority to make this order. Paragraph 1 sets out the name of the order. Paragraph 2 defines the program as the development project, including preliminary engineering and design services. The program is to be executed in 4 phases, Mr. Speaker. Through these 4 phases, critical infrastructure enhancements will be done in the parishes of St. Anne, Trelawney, St. James, Hanover, and Westmoreland to increase water production and improve the reliability of the water supply to meet the demand for potable water and sewage services in the residential, commercial, tourism, and institutional sectors of these parishes. More specifically, Mr. Speaker, Phase 1 of the project seeks to procure detailed engineering designs, goods and services for the execution of the works, the replacement of the transmission main between the Martha Bray Water Treatment Plant, Trelawney to the Great River Water Treatment Plant, St. James to the Terminal Reservoir in Montego Bay, St. James. The installation of a transmission main between the Great River Water Treatment Plant, Hanover to Negril, Westmoreland, and the rectification of any defects apparent during the execution of works for Phase 1. Phase 2, Mr. Speaker, involves the expansion of the Martha Bray and Great River water treatment plants. Phase 3 involves the expansion of the Roaring River Venture water treatment plant and the construction of associated transmission main in Westmoreland. Phase 4 involves the construction of a new water treatment plant to be known as the Rio Buena water treatment plant and a transmission main from Runaway Bay to Oteria, St. Anne. Mr. Speaker, paragraph 3 of the order declares the Western Parishes Water Supply and Resilience Improvement Program a national development project. Importantly, Mr. Speaker, paragraph 4 of the order sets out that the program is subject to the terms and conditions specified in the schedule. Notwithstanding the treatment of this program as a national development project, Mr. Speaker, as Minister, I'm empowered to make the exclusion of the project from the application of the Public Procurement Act, subject to clear terms and conditions. I've done so, Mr. Speaker, and thus the schedule sets out clear terms and conditions that must govern the project. Mr. Speaker, the conditions under which this program is to operate have been set out in the schedule to the order and are as follows. There must be value for money for the duration of the program, and thus NWC will have to engage independent engineers to conduct technical assessments and validate engineering designs. The execution of works in respect of each phase of the program shall not commence without the prior approval of the Cabinet, such approval having been given upon the recommendation of the Public Investment Management Committee. The execution of the works in respect of phase 1 of the program, Mr. Speaker, will be carried out by French company Vinci Construction Grants Project. This company has been operating in Jamaica for the past 25 years and has implemented several national projects for the National Water Commission. In the execution of the works for phase 1, Mr. Speaker, Vinci Construction, the contractor, as set out in paragraph 4 of the schedule, must use a minimum of 90% Jamaican workers for unskilled work and utilize 50% Jamaican workers for technical works, the latter subject to their availability. The order also stipulates in the schedule that in collaboration with Hart NSTA Trust, the contractor must develop and implement a training program for the transfer of knowledge and technology from foreign workers to Jamaican workers not having the required technical skills who are suitable candidates to work on the program. Mr. Speaker, Jamaicans must be paid no less favorable than the standard wage rates, and the contractor must comply with conditions of employment determined by the Joint Industrial Council. And finally, Mr. Speaker, the contractor must utilize all suitable and available goods and services and components originated from or made in Jamaica for the program. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, with this order, the government intends to continue to fulfill its commitment to maximize economy and efficiency in public procurement, promote economic development through public procurement, obtain value through public procurement, foster transparency, and encourage participation in public procurement. Mr. Speaker, I now invite members of this Honourable House to support the affirmation of this order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I just have a couple of questions. I don't know whether the Minister of Finance or the Minister with responsibility. Could you indicate what the total value of the project is? And if you could give us a breakdown by phase in terms of the time frame for each phase and then the value for each of the 4 phases. And then secondly, I noted the outsourcing of to an independent engineer to do the value for money. From what I've seen here, this, in my view, doesn't appear to be sufficient. This looks like, ensuring that the technical assessment is done. But given the amount of monies that would be spent, which would run into the billions, what I want to know is what mechanism, either within the NWC or the government more broadly, will be utilized to ensure value for money beyond just the technical assessments.
Mr. Speaker, this is a very important day for Jamaica's water supply. With the passage of this resolution, Mr. Speaker, we declare to the citizens of northwestern Jamaica that we indeed have a plan, that we have focused on their water supply, and that their government has indeed committed the funds, the significant funds required to fix their water challenges. Last year, I faced the brunt of the issues affecting the northwestern tip of Jamaica. I had meetings in virtually every cluster along every water system, from central St. all the way to the western tip of Westmoreland. And the truth is, people suffered on the back of climate change, a changing climate, which created an unusual drought, one of our worst in history, the fourth worst in Jamaica's history. They suffered on the back of the hottest day ever recorded in Jamaica in June of last year. But they suffered because of infrastructure which has passed its useful life. Members of this House and certain citizens listening will recall a video that went viral with a vehicle being lifted off of the ground with a broken pipe in front of the Coral Gardens police station. Now, every time there's a break along the line coming from Martha Brae, heading into Terminal Reservoir, along that corridor, Montego Bay takes between 3 and 6 weeks to backfill the systems because of the hilly interior in the parish. So as much as that looked like a Hollywood movie with a car in the air and the wall of the police station being broken, what that meant is the citizens that reside in the constituency that the Deputy Speaker represents were without water for some 6 weeks because of that break. In some cases, months. Now, the international standard is that when a line breaks 4 times for the year, it is time to change that line. This line is breaking more than once a month. It has passed its useful life. It cannot carry the water that is required. And this particular node is very, very important. It will change the transition main from Martha Brae straight to the Terminal Reservoir. The Honourable Minister of Finance also mentioned that we'll be changing the transmission main from the Great River Treatment Plant all the way to the western end of Westmoreland, being the west end of Negril. That line that is there is inadequate and old. So even if it was a new line at the current size, because of population growth and commercial growth along the corridor, it would not be able to carry what is required. Important to note, the Martha Brae system supplies St. Anne, Trelawney, and indeed St. James. So when you have 70% in some months of the water produced that is being pumped west, going into the ground and not serving consumers, you understand the challenge and the strain it then puts on the Great River Treatment Plant, where you then pump more water that should be going west towards, through Hanover, through eastern and western Hanover, is then pumped east to help to support hospitals, health centers, and citizens in western St. James. To understand this project, the scale of this project is enormous. We haven't done pipeline work like this since the Yalas pipeline. This phase of the project will cost some 27 billion Jamaican dollars and will last 2 years. The construction phase will commence on July 4th, and it will take 24 months for the pipeline work to be done. There are components which include the fact that several of the communities that are served by this pipeline with the new pressure would not be able to manage with their old pipelines the pressure that will go into those spaces. So we'll be doing the NRW work in parallel in these communities. Communities like Norwood, communities like Salt Spring, communities like Moy Hall, and Madam Minister, communities in and around Lucy. We have a lot of work to do during the 2 years to make sure that that project is carried. The other phases of the project, which are at varying stages of design and varying stages of the PIAB process, which include the upgrade of the Martha Brae water treatment plant, the upgrade of the Great River Treatment Plant, the rebuilding and restoration of the Roaring River Treatment Plant, the development and design of a Rio Bueno treatment plant, that will take a bit longer. Those additional phases will cost approximately $20 billion at current estimates. Our ability to complete those steps for those additional phases of the project will determine if there is price escalation. It is our intention in our next term of government to complete the bureaucratic process in the first year and a half of that administration, allowing for seamless moving from phase 1 into phase 2 and 3. But the project will come to some $45 billion. Now, for colleagues to understand as I close, for Jamaica to become water resilient, we need to deploy some $5 billion by 2030 in potable water, irrigation, and certainly in sanitation systems. That's an assessment done by the World Bank. So regardless of which engineering assumptions you make, IDB has their own views. Some of your long-standing workers who even work with the Public Works Department have their own views of which systems to choose. But it's in that range that we're going to have to deploy. So this is a large project. It is in fact 1/30th of what we should be deploying to achieve that water resilience. So large, but we have to move faster. We have to push harder. And we have to continue to ensure that the economic expansion that we're experiencing continues so that we can invest far greater in achieving that water resilience against the backdrop of a changing climate, collapsing infrastructure because of decades of underinvestment. And that will lead, no doubt, to the development being supported by water, sewage, and irrigation. I suspect that the Honourable Minister of Finance will soon have other updates for you as we continue our massive investment in the water sector. Thank you. No, I don't start sell yet, but we'll soon come to that. The project oversight will come from independent engineers. We'll provide that data when they're under contract. But I do not expect there to be deep concerns when the reputation of the agencies that will provide that oversight, or the independent engineers provide that oversight, are announced.
Minister, you mentioned the rate, the standard rate. What is that standard rate? Could you say what is the measure? Yeah, I just want that to be clear. GIDC? No, but it wasn't said. It just said a standard rate.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the order being affirmatively resolved. Oh. As you know. Mr. Speaker, you, like me and others, understand how the issue of water impacts our constituents. And we in St. James have been telling them that we have been working on a solution, and that when the solution arrives, it will address the problem from Trelawney into St. James, over into Hanover, Westmoreland, and all the way round. We also know, Mr. Speaker, that the processes in government have been too slow, really too slow to allow for commitments to be delivered in a timely way. But today, the declaration of this project as a national development project, which will now allow for it to be treated in a special way under the procurement laws, is a welcome one. And I just want to thank my colleague, the member from St. Anne North East, and the minister, the member from St. Andrew Eastern, for bringing the order to the House. And I just want to say to my constituents that telling you that we're working on a solution was not mere talk. Here it is. We are one step closer to realizing it on your behalf.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I cannot help but rise to express my appreciation to my colleagues, and I speak to them as a member of Parliament, as a colleague minister. And I think I can speak on your behalf as well, because the entire urban Montego and part of the sports constituency, when this system goes down, is severely impacted. In fact, if you tell, we have been having this severe problem for the last 9 months, because I think the first hit was when the Carroll Gardens pipeline went up. In my constituency, took out the entire water supply system for Northwest St. James, Central St. James, and part of West Central. Because most of the entire residential part of the country is hilly. So once the water supply goes, the hotels get a little bit of the 40% that's left, or 20%. So this is a welcome activity. And I recall I have the privilege of when this bill was being amended, the procurement bill, that I sat in the committee and your colleague from St. Mary just spoke together, we worked on creating this particular clause, which at the time was not particularly welcome. It was seen as an escape clause for bypass the procurement process. But we insisted, and in that joint select committee, we got the law done. And interestingly, the two primary projects done under this particular law is in Western Jamaica, which is the perimeter road, which was done for other reasons under this clause, and now we're proceeding with what is a critical project, and it's really designed for this project, because this kind of activity. No, we don't need savior. You are, we're on the way. We know where we are. And this project is welcome. I'd use the opportunity to enjoy the campaign. You look forward to your new leader afterwards, I'm sure. You'll have a new campaign, as you will. I guess you'll be part of the challenge to replace the new leader. All right, guys, we're not quarreling with that. I'd urge the Ministry of Finance to examine clearly not only oversight, but they ensure that the institution like the Water Commission establish a much stronger preventive maintenance program. An entire department. We have invested billions in the Jamaica Water Sector Improvement Program, which I had the privilege of being involved in, was at the time $211 million US. This one now is another near $200 million US in infrastructure. And they need to be maintained because what's happening on a regular established basis. We are too, as a country, we are too cavalier in how we build new things and leave them and don't maintain them. And this must be done now because we're talking about maybe billions of dollars. And the failure of the pipeline from Martha, it's a simple failure of good maintenance and good oversight of the infrastructure in time when we had, it had to work out its entire service life, so to speak. When it started collapsing, we intervened in emergency. We had the legislature to do so. We have done so, and thankful to have the resource to do so, because over the last decade we have run the economy in a way that we don't have to run for a loan for this kind of activity, which have taken further time. So the Minister of Finance has to take some kudos for that, and we welcome the activity, and we can say to our constituents, there will be more problems. It's going to take some, Minister Samuda, at least 24 months to get this up and running. So we expect there will be challenges, but the population in Rose Heights and Norwood can take confidence that while that is being done, there's an end in sight, because we'll have the supply and we'll be taking steps to correct the problem in the infrastructure and the distribution system. Thank you very much, Minister. Ministers.
Mr. Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which the minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the resolutions, notes of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the resolution, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? Ayes have it.
Thank
Minister.
you. Mr. Speaker, I am not, this late in the evening was just a critical motion to extend the zones of special operation. The extension of the zones of special operation is once again presented before us for consideration. The debate occurs, and I'll put up a graph of some of the outcomes, but we'll not spend much time on it, but we'll keep it there. This debate, however, must occur within the context of a change that is taking place in the criminal violence landscape across the island. As of yesterday, Monday, June 16, Jamaica recorded 307 murders, which equates to a 44.3% reduction in homicides. A figure that has to be welcomed by all of us. That is 244 Jamaicans alive and 244 families that are feeling better today as a result of the operation of the entire policy of this government, which sought to invest in our police force and create the ecosystem in which they could perform effectively their required law enforcement activity. These are not just historic statistics on paper. They are Jamaican lives that are saved, livelihoods being preserved, and the future of our country being secured. The Minister of Tourism indicated to what extent, even internationally, to recognize that we're taking steps to ensure our country operates in a peace and secure manner. The Jamaica Conservative Force advances crime-fighting strategies. We will maintain and expand the clear hold and bill approach to addressing the socio-economic erosion that underpins crime and violence in a number of our communities. In this regard, Madam Speaker, the zones of special operations have offered the greatest benefit to our most challenged communities. The value of this intervention in the clear space has been tried, tested, and proven successful as they complement the operational efforts of the security forces. It's been 8 years since the first Zozo was declared. There can be no denying that these measures have been impactful and are yielding dividends. The people living within these zones are now having a sense of hope for the future and the future of their community. We have transformed not only the police force, we have transformed communities. Anyone in this room, well, the member he is here from Central St. James, Mount Salem is a new community in all its entirety. Madam Speaker, we have invested approximately $2.13 billion annually in programs run by the Jamaica Social Investment Fund in areas in socially challenged areas. And this, of course, puts a lie to any child that we are not investing in the social transformation in these communities. We include supporting programs, and the cost for, when we include supporting programs, the cost for security within the zone, that figure is more than doubled. It is high, but it's a cost we are prepared to pay for the future of our country. Our investment in social transformation is a cost we are committed to paying. We will introduce effective social transformation in all the vulnerable communities identified in the Community Renewal Program. There are just about 105 communities, and we look forward to scaling this up. But, Mr. Speaker, in view of the success of the Jamaica Conservative Force, which we will not necessarily need all the security tightening in these communities, because we will not be able to, having effectively transformed the force to be able to deal with the criminal gangs effectively, we'll maintain them, and their numbers, maybe even increase them, continue to provide them with effective transport, successful transformation in terms of communication, the introduction of technology. We invite all the members to attend the arena or the community college in Western Jamaica from the 19th to the 21st, when we'll see the technological assets of the police force on display to give confidence to the people of our country and reassure them that the police force is at a point where we can take charge and overcome the criminal violence in these critical areas. As we indicated very early in the administration, when others were debating that the policy of the government was to build out the police force to be able to deal with the criminal element in society. Or in the short term, we use extra strong legislative measures, including the zones, which has a strong component of social investment. But consistent with our policy, we will not only seek the extension, but we will be looking at scaling this activity up very soon as we continue into the new financial year to cover additional communities where we may do hold and build as the principal activity, since the police is now clearly on top of the criminal gangs that used to torture our society. I put on the chart before I ask for the confirmation of the resolution. If you look at that chart, there's a definite trend which started before, from 2023, and continues. I'm not sure. I'm not in charge of the technology, and therefore I cannot be charged with victimization. you're healthy. No. Yeah, we have no problem. We are not in the technological field. I am not there, and I'm sure the parliamentarians perhaps are not seeking to victimize you. You're a healthy young lady. You can turn your head in any direction without any function. So don't deny that. But it shows that from last year, whatever graph we take, except for a little aberration, November 2024, we'll see that the graph is on a downward trend. And we expect this year we will go towards 50% and lower before the end result, so that we can demonstrate to individuals, to the society, that the police now have the capacity to deal with the level of criminality in our country. We have others looking at the time frame. All we're saying is we established a policy, we expect a particular outcome, we made the investment, and we are seeing the results, which is in the direction we indicated, and we expect that as we complete that investment, it will succeed in taking to where the object is. We're not yet complete. We are doing several things, and we conclude those activities, and I have every confidence that the current Jamaica Conservative Force will be able to restore the peace, public order in our society. Today, of course, Mr. Speaker, we are looking at the 7 zones of operation, so consistent with the requirements of the under law reform zones of special operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act. We are seeking to support for the continuation of all 7 areas currently declared in zone of special operations in the communities of Mount Salem, Denham Town, August Town, Greenwich Town, Norwood, Prairie Gardens, and Savannah. Acting on the advice of the National Security Council and in accordance with the law reform zones of special operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, in accordance with the Section 5 of the Act, which guides that the Prime Minister and Council, after consultation with the Joint Command, may by order subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives extend the period referred to in Section 4.3, the Mount Salem, Denham Town, August Town, Greenwich Town, Norwood, Prairie Gardens, and Savannah zones of special operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, which expire on June 23, 2025, to be extended for a further period of 180 days to December 22, 2025. We seek the support of my colleagues. So, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support the resolutions for the extension of the zones. But, Mr. Speaker, I crave your indulgence for a little reflection on the journey we have taken to this place. Mr. Speaker, the passing of the Zozo Act remains a big achievement of the Holness administration. And I am very pleased to have been a critical part of this work, to get the framework under the law done. Mr. Speaker, as we come to the end of the Parliament, it's only natural for us to reflect on what we have achieved, the contributions we have made. You, Mr. Speaker, and I share representational responsibility for the community of Mount Salem. And although the zone as drawn in law is confined to the St. James West Central side of Mount Salem, the institutions that support residents in Mount Salem are located on the St. James Central side, where you represent the people. And so together we have been part of this work on behalf of the people of Mount Salem. The zone comprises approximately 1,600 households confined to a very narrow strip along the Mount Salem main road. I recall, Mr. Speaker, 10 years ago, when I went into Mount Salem offering myself as the candidate for Parliament, what I saw in that area was so shocking to me. I know what rural Jamaica looks like because I am from rural Jamaica. But I had never really seen what I had seen at that time. And I recall as we did the work when the level of violent crime was so high, the murder rate was so high right across the country, when the shootings were just out of control to the point where St. James and the Mount Salem area was described as a wild, wild west. We grappled with the approach. We took note of concerns raised at many times when we are trying to deal with security issues. The wider issues were not addressed. And so the framework for the Zozo involved community development. We sat in the National Security Council and we looked holistically on what needed to be done. We identified a number of communities across the country that met the criteria we set out in law for the declaration of the zone. And when Mount Salem was selected, I was accused of so many things, but I remember one of the articles that came out in the newspaper asked the question, was it because Mount Salem was the bastion of the opposition party, why we were unleashing the military and the police on Mount Salem? Because as you know, the framework has a joint force for multiplier effect. Where we are today with the capacity of the Jamaica Constabulary Force is not where we were in 2016 or 2017 when the law came into effect. And sometimes we forget the journey we have taken. And we indicated to the people of Jamaica that we had to bring in the multiplier effect by deploying members of the Jamaica Defense Force alongside members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force until we build out the capacity of the JCF. And today, we are at a point where we can celebrate proudly that capacity of the JCF. The honorable member from St. James Northwest, who has responsibility for national security, has extended an invitation to everyone to see what will be demonstrated on Thursday of this week, the culmination of investment in the capacity of the Jamaica Constabulary Force to do the work. But you know, Mr. Speaker, Mount Salem today is like daylight to what it used to be. And I don't have to say it because the people themselves have spoken about it. Never in their wildest imagination did they think the time could come when they could walk proudly through the many streets of the Mount Salem Zozo, right across. Never did they think the time would have come to see the changes in the physical environment, giving them pride. Never did they think the time would come when the violence would have ceased. And so, Mr. Speaker, every time... Absolutely. No, the work of the wholeness administrations have brought positive changes to the people. Mr. Speaker, I recall so many concerns being raised, so many accusations being levied. The reporting that takes place to the Parliament periodically, which comes in the many reports, was a special feature of the legislation because of the fear that the security forces were being unleashed. And part of the accountability framework was this regular reporting. So, Mr. Speaker, we have had many years and many rounds. But just to put on record that for this year, for the first half of this year, we have seen the rehabilitation of the Mount Salem Primary and Infant School. That implementation had started in May, and it is now 10% complete. And the value of the project is 163 million. and the scope of it is the classrooms, the perimeter fencing, the play area, sanitation facility, walkway, administrative block, sick bay, kitchen, parking lot, and furniture. We have seen improvement in solid waste management. 11 community residents were trained between December last year and January of this year, and 23 were employed as environmental warden for a 4-week period. 6 of them from the Mount Salem community underwent examination for certification as turf attendants level 3 by heart. Mr. Speaker, we saw the school-based interventions with over 40 students from grade 6, Mount Salem Primary and Infant, engaged in academic enrichment through the JSIF competition. Mr. Speaker, we saw operational certification of 47 persons who benefited from birth certificates during the period, 54 applicants that were submitted to the RGD. We have seen, Mr. Speaker, 16 micro enterprises benefited from business development training for the period, with over $3 million award of grants. And we saw Labor Day activities in the tune of $1 million. Mr. Speaker, today Mount Salem is a different place and a better place. And I can tell you that they do not want to see the zone come to an end. But I say to them that part of the model is taking responsibility. And as the honourable member from Northwest St. James indicated, there is some remaining work to be done, and they will be done because we are still in the build phase. But the extension of the zone will allow for the continuation of the work in progress. Mr. Speaker, we should be justly proud of the legacy of the Zozo to the people of Mount Salem.
Mr. Speaker, I wish to loudly and proudly support the extension of the Zozo and the benefits that the Zozo has brought to the communities of Hermitage, Augustown, Goldsmith Villa, African Gardens in St. Andrew Eastern. Without it, Mr. Speaker, the peace that the residents are enjoying, I doubt that it would have been possible, because the Zozo helped to get rid of many of the gangs that were hanging around in those communities. I recall, Mr. Speaker, when I started as Member of Parliament in 2016, going into 2017, 2018, there was barely a week when you did not hear about some crime being committed in Augustown, some killing, some shooting. That's because of the many rival gangs that were there and the freedom with which they felt they could move around. Residents then did not know what it was like to go to their beds and not hear gunshots. There were many reports of elderly persons who hurt themselves trying to get off their beds at night when they hear the barrage of gunshots, trying to find refuge under their beds. Right? They would have slipped. A lot of things happened because of the crime and violence that was there. Today, Madam Speaker, the citizens are going to their beds with greater assurance of peace and significantly better working relationship with the police. Just last week, Mr. Speaker, a big concert was held in the heart of African Gardens by one of their own, Etana, who comes from that part of Augustown. And it happened incidents-free. People came out and enjoyed themselves. In the past, the police would never give the permit to have such a concert. Mr. Speaker, I want to broadcast the benefits that have come to those communities. The entire upper and lower Goldsmith Villa and all households are now able to receive piped water. And you have to know how significant this is. For one, these benefits don't just flow to people who declare themselves as laborites. The benefits flow to everyone, regardless of their party affiliation.
That's our party.
And I know the opposition members, when I say Goldsmith Villa, I can know what's going through their heads, but there's been no discrimination of these benefits. And recently, I walked Goldsmith Villa, and I can tell you, persons were elated with to the fact that they do have water, running water in their homes. Many of them are saying, thank you, MP. I don't have to go miles to go get water and bring it up the hill. I don't have to pay excess for a truck of water to come up to my house. They were saying, finally, these are women who are in their 50s and 60s saying, finally, MP, I can take a shower. Yes. And I had to say, shower. Absolutely, and you can see their testimony on social media about the roads, the water, the peace that is in their communities. And when I look at the report, the results that are tabled today, January 2, 2025 to June 5, 2025, I want all the residents of those communities, Lower Goldsmith Villa, Upper Goldsmith Villa, Augustown, African Gardens, Hermitage, to know that the school rehabilitation of Hope Valley Experimental and the Augustown Primary School were done at a combined cost of over $100 million. For the first time, Mr. Speaker, there will be a government infant school at the Augustown Primary School, and it is being built to the standards of the Early Childhood Commission. Under certification, Mr. Speaker, 537 persons have so far benefited from birth certificates. They applied to the Registrar General's Department. Mr. Speaker, we have taken the students, the really young kids there, ensure that during Easter and summer they are exposed to things like chess camp. Yes. And you would see, Mr. Speaker, when you visit, you could see the concentration of these kids on the game. In a matter of the first week of the camp, they were playing chess and playing it at a high level. They were engaged in the competition. Yes, absolutely. Just this past Labor Day 2025, the community of Goldsmith Villa benefited from $1 million for works on the Goldsmith Villa Community Center. Approximately 50 volunteers were registered to work to refurbish the center, to include repairing the roof of the kitchen, the office, the main building, conduct termite treatment, electrical works, paint the community center, and clean up the area. This is a community center that is well used, Mr. Speaker. It was there when I got there as Member of Parliament, but it was in a very dilapidated state. I am delighted that we've been able to get the funding to repair the community center, because I know during those times when we go through significant weather events that building will be a safer building for a shelter. We have had training on solid waste management and certification. And so some 46 persons were employed as environmental wardens. And we have had 5 participants under getting examination for certification as turf attendants, level 3, by Hart NSTA. In terms of school-based intervention, Mr. Speaker, 99 grade 6 students at Hope Valley Experimental and Augusttown Primary School were engaged in the annual science competition. This is based on the PEP curriculum and aimed at improving the proficiency level of students sitting the PEP science exam. With regards to the Augusttown Police Station, that is in the heart of Augusttown, they have been equipped with things like refrigerator, microwave, fans, printers, and so on. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand in full support of the extension of the Zozo, knowing the benefits, knowing the peace that is there that will take root in these communities. I am so happy and so delighted to represent those communities, the communities in St. Andrew Eastern.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I have often done whenever we have come to talk about the Zozos, I have supported the Zozo. And it is true that many of us would have started hesitantly to support the Zozo. Sometimes we tend to forget how we came here. And we forget that in the beginning, there was a big conversation about the state of emergency and the Zozo. I am extremely glad and I feel vindicated as one of those individuals on this side who were clear from day one that the state of emergencies were not cutting it, and that abrogating the rights of citizens was not where we wanted to go. And therefore, we spoke very clearly about how we saw both and the reason why we were supporting the Zozo. And as I did then, I still do support the Zozo, because for us, the added difference was really around the development that was expected, yes, and the services that we were expecting for the communities. I think I've said this on a couple of occasions before, Minister. And I speak it for the record. I speak for the record some of what I believe still would need to be done. And I say I speak it for the record because regardless of what I tell you today, you won't be the minister to implement. But the record means that I still have to put it here. I believe that the community coming together and all the different agencies and players meeting as one is important. And I know that we have been doing those under all of the Zozos. I believe, however, that we have lost the opportunity to fully engage members of the community in the way we could have. And I am not saying that this is a failure of the minister. I'm just saying in terms of how it works. I know, yeah, no, and I'm just saying, just in terms of how it works, that I think we could have done more to get the broader community involved in the conversation and the discussion about what is happening. Because even now, every day I walk, people will be asking and I have to be explaining, oh, why didn't they hear this? Why haven't they done that? And I have to say, no, these things are happening, but they really don't know. So that I think is something that we kind of need to look at. And then, Minister, when I look on 4,400 residents, 1,100 families, households, and I think of the summer camps, which have been very good summer camps, but when you look on the number of children who have benefited from the summer camp, the question that still is left in my mind is what is the demand and what portion of that demand are we satisfying? Because I believe that when we come to measure impact, all of these things are going to come into play. I remember you, Minister, talking about the PMI and talking about social intervention and the impact of social intervention and why it is that some of those things you think did not really make the difference that they could. And I think that along that same vein, I would have loved, when I look at the description of the community, the priority investments, very good in terms of what has been done there, but what is the gap that is still left? I'm one of those still wanting to know that. So I am one of those, I love the fixing up of our parks and our green spaces, yes? And 4 have been done in the Greenwich Town, Zozo. 1 on the fishing village, fishing beach, which the community uses, yes? And which has really been a respite for many there. And so we welcome that. I also welcome the ones at the schools. But the truth is that there are too many of our community residents or children who really do not have access to the park and green spaces in the school unless they're at school. So don't get me wrong, I'm saying yes, we welcome those. But when children are in their communities, they also then still don't have access to those spaces. And I believe that you would probably agree with me, as many persons do, that each community should really have some kind of a park or green space, you know, for them to play with. And so that is something that I'm looking at. I've said it to you before, Minister, 78 persons benefiting from the micro and small business, each one of them needy. For each one of them, it has made a big difference. I'm not taking away from that. No, I'm not taking away from that. But since I am the one talking, I have to talk from my heart and not from anybody else's. And so I also would have loved to know 78 out of what is the need? What is the need? And therefore, what is the gap? And I asked Minister because I'm trying to remember which organization it was that came here. And I know that one of the things that they wanted to do was to assess the actual impact and the change brought on by the Zozos. And so that's where I really end. To say, as much as we have spent, as much as we have seen the individual changes, and as much as we can speak about the anecdotes, I would also love to know that the reports are done in a way that allow us to really have a better understanding of the needs, what was met, and where the gap still remains. Yeah, those are my comments today.
Mr. Chairman, I really just want to follow on what the comments my colleague has made, and I want to focus on 2 aspects of it. What we're hearing here today, the testimonials from the members who have in fact experienced the Zozo, is that the Zozo itself has actually had a very good impact. In fact, the member from Eastern St. Andrew made it very clear that she doesn't think that we could have seen the peace without it. Now, Minister, and I, from the very beginning, my support was always for Zozo style. I was always very ambivalent about SOEs, very supportive of Zozo, and continue to be. My point isn't that Zozo has been implemented where they've been implemented. My point is that they've just been stuck there, and very few else have experienced it. My own constituency, as you know, really, of the 102, from the survey that has been done, of the 102 communities, I have about 4 of those, and none of those got any attention. None of those. Even where I was arguing to you that we had on our own mobilized resources, done things in part, and needed the support to complete. The situation in Waterhouse was a specific case where I pointed out that we've even started we built a community center, started a music studio, and was seeking the support of really expand and complete what we had. What happened was a program from USAID was then proffered. We started to put that program together. And without the Zozo framework, because it was never in a Zozo framework, well, the election came in the US and USAID disappeared. And nothing else. The program just stopped cold. The point I'm making, Minister, and really today, what is happening today? What is happening today in Waterhouse is a number of youngsters wanting, because of you, well, everybody knows Waterhouse and what music represents for that community. That's not something made up, that's the culture. Number of youngsters wanting to do their music, have their weekends, parade shows, parties, whatever. The police know what is being used now is a police permit, absence of it. And it looks like suppression. It looks like repression. And we have to be very careful that even the gains as we see them and the figures that we are seeing, the reduction, that is not just a suppressive exercise or a repressive exercise, but that is in fact represent the kinds of change and the kind of support, social support that will sustain those numbers that we are seeing. And we want them to keep being reduced. But I don't think you're going to get it done all by the police. I don't believe you're going to be able to get it done all by the police. There still is the need, as others have testified, that the support helps, and we need to make the transformation. Minister, we have to do something. We have to do something more.
Thank members for their support and the testimony. I have to respond to a few comments. But, Madam Chair, I had also to respond to your comment at the beginning. When I took this job, it was supposed to be one of the more, this was described as a graveyard for politicians. No difficult one. I was told by a member of the force who was not too similar that I would last 6 months, given my own personality and background. We have been here about 8 years now, and I want to assure my members that we'll complete the job we have started, irrespective of what events take place in the next 4 to 6 months. I won't spend another 8 years, I can assure you, but we'll have good hands to take over, and so we take it to a certain level. The fact is that on the issue of state of public emergency, the government of the Jamaica Labour Party, led by Andrew Holness, had a complete security plan. And you cannot take it piece by piece. We promoted it, and I'll outline clearly again. In short, without any length of time, you have to add strong legislative measures in the beginning to give the security forces and to incorporate the Jamaica Defence Force as a force multiplier to effectively deal with the high level of crime. I have to recall the incident across there. My constituency, with 180,000 people, had 175 murders in 1 year. My colleague, the Deputy Speaker, will certainly pay attention. Remember, one weekend, we had 27 murders in 3 days. We had the lowest for this year so far, a whole month, we had 46 in the island. It's called a record for 30 years. When you wake up and walk into your constituency on a Saturday morning, and you walk into a yard with 7 people lying on the ground, like a butcher's mark, literally. To think about not having a state of emergency is almost a type of madness. There was no alternative, and to the correct thing the government did, and I support that, we maintain that. We saved lives and demonstrated that we would do what is required to get law and order. I won't comment on the judge's comment, who started that discussion before, and I said, Mr. The law that advised me made his arbiter dictum or whatever his state of mind was. But that's there. The laws will go forward to the appeal court and deal with that. But the policy of the government was correct, and I will demonstrate today. We said we take strong measures reduce violence, and build the police force to the point where they will have the capacity to deal with criminal activities in the country. We are there now, and we take credit for seeing that there is not a continuum from last year of reduction in homicide. The reduction in murders, the increased peace and good order is a result of the work and policy of the Andrew Holness-led government and the investment they made. It is so clear, even the blind could see it. They say Ray Charles could sing on it and see. Those who are not seeing it have blindness somewhere else in the brain. But I further comment to you, we want to indicate that in the zones of special operation, Mr. Speaker, the reduction in homicides for this year compared to last year, with the other reduction, is 79%. Wow. 79%. It's 3 murders in the entire 7 zones compared to 14 last year. Wow. We are returning. Now, on the matter of the area of the community that we are looking at, peace, good order, and the lives we save has no color. It is for the community and for all of us. And it's not the zones alone. So I appreciate the comments and the support of my members on that side, but it's the whole activity and the entire security program of the government and the investment we made in aspects of security forces. We had to restore good order, and we had to really get the Jamaica Constable Force rebuilt to a capacity that could deal with the crime and provide them with the professionalism that they now have. The quality, the moral of the force, their work, and everything. Look at us. Let's go to the arena next week. You see a policeman on the road. And I say they're perfect, but there's no question that the police force we have today, you can look and see the changes in the police force. We have a team of bright young Jamaicans leading the force. They have provided them with better resources, better working conditions, and of course, communication, transport will go on over. And I'm confident that they will keep that trend going down till we get back to what we look toward when we're in the 10 and 12 per 100,000. Times have changed. I also want to say to my colleague from the South St. Andrew area, Southwest St. Andrew, the police force have said to me, we have discussed it, they are committed to policing all legal activities in Jamaica. Let me talk of what happened in terms of entertainment, and I remember from St. Andrew, said they had a big entertainment event in Augustone. We know it provides a challenge to policing, but as we get the reduction in violence, we can look forward to providing the framework in which they can have entertainment. Entertainment is a big part of Jamaican society. It's a big part of the economy. We have no interest in reducing entertainment activity from the Ministry of National Security, and that's what we are working towards. Clearly, there are other aspects to it which I can discuss outside of this forum, but the objective is to ensure that all legitimate community activity, entertainment, church, prayer meeting, football matches, any kind of social activity that the community wishes to have, at any hour of the day, we can police it effectively and allow the citizens to go on normally. That is a commitment we are giving through the current development. So, Mr. Speaker, security is at the heart of any social transformation. My colleague I know is hurting, and I empathize. But what the government have sought to do is to ensure when we enter into a program, we go through it in a complete manner. What we did not wish to do is to spend a little here, a little there, like was happening even the police force. We had to take it to a level. We are spending nearly $90 billion on security, including police and the army. So we are reaching a point which you might call a tipping point in the police force. They have a establishment. We may have to review that and give them some more. But we have taken them to a certain point where we can say this is phase 1 and it is a transformation, is an ongoing process. Now we have to look at the social activities. We didn't want to do a little thing here, a little thing there, and as was happening. PMI was doing something here, they have a talk, they established some friendship there. Another one organized was there. The problem is of such that we have to have major government involvement. The city security plan is an inclusion of the entire government service, all MDA's involvement. But we had to establish best practices. From these 7 committees, we now see where we can scale upwards. And in fact, because of the success of the police, we can scale up without some of the heavy police in terms of personnel. We still will maintain the quality of policing, but we don't necessarily have to introduce either a state of public emergency or a zone of special operation. We can do what is happening in Deputy Speaker's constituency. We have moved in with what we'd call the inner city basic services component of the zones of special operation. Because that's technically what it is. It's broader than what the original inner city basic service program, but it's a move to introduce broad social intervention. And we maintain policing, but you have normal policing because where we are now with the security force. Indeed, the member from West Central Assembly would have mentioned, but I said the institutions are on the other side. And we have a brand new police station in Mount Salem. So when the checkpoints go and the soldiers go, we'll have adequate policing in Mount Salem to maintain the peace along with the community activities that we'll do there. And of course, to ensure that continues and successfully, what the member have brought from Southwest St. Andrews is that we have to incorporate the citizens. We have to get buy-in from the citizens, and therefore the work to get there will continue. The Social Intervention Committee at times had challenges. Some of our very elected leaders not getting involved as they should, and created some challenges which we have examined, and as we go forward to incorporate, to expand and scale up the social intervention program, which requires the involvement not just NGOs, but the ministries, education, Ministry of Labour and Social Security, SDC, the police itself, which maintains a different forum, a different formation in those areas, the City Security, CSSB formation of the police, will be in there working with the community leadership to build out infrastructure, and we welcome participation of NGOs in those stations. We're not chartering out our social intervention program. The City Security Business Council is a body of entire government, all senior leadership, and the government is going to lead and continue to lead in social transformation, and we're going to scale up these programs to ensure that the over 100 communities we're involved will be impacted in a very short time. In addition to that, we have completed the violence review program. The Commission on Violence has completed a report, and that will also provide further basis for review and development of the social violence report by the National Commission on Violence Prevention. It is now complete, and the Prime Minister will introduce, so we can, as we scale up the program, we'll look at how we can incorporate our citizens in a closer way in these communities in what we're going to do. So, my friend, sorry that it has taken this long, but we have gone through 8 years. We are now pretty much confident what we wish to do. I'm sorry to have to wait until after the events, but nothing new will come before then. But we're confident we will not forget you have been a good, not only a good supporter, a good member of Parliament. And if you are still there, we'll ensure you get the benefit from. I'll ensure you're we are convinced that real change at the community level is possible with trust, engagement, and empowerment at the heart of social intervention programming. This administration has chosen to improve the life of the outcomes of our people in challenged communities. We chose to give them hope on the future. We chose Jamaica, and we chose to offer a better life to us. Mr. Speaker, I seek the support of my members in affirming the continuation of the 7 zones of special operation across the island. Thank you.
The question is that the resolution, notice of which the minister, the question is that the resolutions, notice of which the minister gave earlier, be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
The question is that the standing order be suspended to enable the minister to take the motion, notice of which he gave earlier. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the data protection disposal of personal data regulations have been tabled in this House for affirmative resolution. They have been laid on the table of this House for quite some time, and in discussion with the leader of opposition business in the House, he agreed with my assessment that a debate was not necessary at this stage. I will simply say that the right to privacy has been recognized in the 1948 Universal Declaration of the Human Rights as one of the inalienable rights of humans, and that the Jamaican Constitution has enshrined the right in the Charter of Fundamental Rights and Freedoms. Section 13, subsection 3J provides that everyone has the right to respect for and protection of private and family life and the privacy of the home, and protection of privacy of other property and communication. Mr. Speaker, for that reason, that the regulations being considered by this Honourable House today are crucial for data subjects and the OIC's enforcement of the Data Protection Act. Mr. Speaker, we believe that the regulations are not only intended to benefit data subjects, but data controllers will derive their own benefits. Mr. Speaker, I commend the regulations to the members of this Honourable House for their consideration and approval. Mr. Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which I gave notice of earlier, be approved.
The question is that the motion, notice of which the minister gave earlier, be approved. Aye. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, it is not intended for us, it is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask that the House adjourns to June 24th, 2025, at which time 2 members, one from Central St. Catherine and one from East Central St. Catherine, will continue the budget debate, the sectoral debate with their presentations.
The question is that the House now adjourn to Tuesday, the 24th of June, 2025 at 2 p.m. Those in favor? Those against? This House now stands adjourned.
The One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation and its global supporters cordially invite Jamaicans abroad and abroad to its inaugural reconnection on June 21st, 2025 at the Ranny Williams Entertainment Center in Kingston, Jamaica. Bring your entire family for a day of food, fun, entertainment, and information. Get an understanding of the Constitution and the skills necessary to exercise your rights and your civic responsibilities as Jamaican citizens. You can't afford to miss this inaugural Reconnection Rally, June 21st in Kingston. Tune in for further information and updates to Reason with Radigan on YouTube and reggaeglobalradio.com, Saturdays at 3 p.m. New York time and at 2 p.m. in Jamaica. The One Jamaica Legal Defense Foundation and its global supporters cordially invite Jamaicans ayard and abroad to its inaugural reconnection on June 21st, 2025 at the Ranny Williams Entertainment Center in Kingston, Jamaica. Bring your entire family for a day of food, fun, entertainment, and information. Get an understanding of the Constitution and the skills necessary to exercise your rights and your civic responsibilities as Jamaican citizens. You can't afford to miss this inaugural Reconnection Rally, June 21st in Kingston. Tune in for further information and updates to Reason with Radigan on YouTube and reggaeglobalradio.com, Saturdays at 3 p.m. New York time and at 2 p.m. in Jamaica.
When the game gets rough and this life just seems so tough, make we talk, my people, make we talk. When this town becomes an ugly place, don't let it erase the smile from your face. Make we talk, people, make we talk. Conversation is the key, a guiding light for you and me. Spark a talk and you will see. Conflict solver A to Z. World leaders master the art of self-defense just by talk. So people, make we talk. Hey, we're living in a world that on ourselves we must depend. Make we talk.